Failure better become an option, because if you take away the potential for failure, then you take away the potential for success.
Hey everybody, what's up? Hope you're having an awesome Friday. This week has been crazy. It's been 12 days since launching the podcast, and this is episode 13. I just recorded episode 15 and 16 yesterday, so I am hustling, bro. Hustling. It's craziness. Just pumping out straight content for you guys. Kind of like just doing everything I can to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, you know? So if you're taking the time to check out this podcast, I'm super grateful, and you guys rock. I would also really appreciate some good ratings in the podcast app and the iTunes app. I also just set up my SoundCloud page last night, so if you want to follow me there, feel free to do that. Still kind of trying to figure out how that platform will fit into the equation, but I'm there, so feel free to repost some stuff and leave some comments in there. That's the unique thing about SoundCloud, is you can leave comments at a certain time in the track. So if you like a certain thing, then comment in SoundCloud and tell me what's up. So my guest today is the crazy talented Conor Peterson. Conor's one of the most interesting people I know. He's a total human optimization freak. His current obsessions include ninja training, skydiving, tricking, obstacle course racing, learning the guitar, meditation, cryptocurrency, and much more. And right now he's actually training for a 24-hour obstacle course race that will be hosted in Iceland under the Northern Lights. And he's an aspiring stuntman. His training is super duper intense. And he mentions in this podcast that he actually throws up or passes out during his workouts at least once a week. He's constantly trying to better himself mentally, physically, and spiritually. And during this episode, we talked about his childhood, growing up skating, his transition into fighting and fitness. And we talked about his wardrobe malfunction during the taping of the TV show American Ninja Warrior, which is pretty hilarious. And also in this episode, we talked about how his family is super, super active. Both of his parents are constantly on the go. Connor's on the go. They do obstacle course races and mud runs together. They're always getting dirty and sweaty outside. And the problem is, how do you get clean after doing these types of activities? You want to go out to dinner, go shopping, or maybe you just want to be comfortable in some clean clothes. And taking a shower and getting clean, it's so easy, but it only takes a few minutes to rinse your body, right? But it's not always easy to find some place to actually get clean when you're miles away from home. You know, if you're way out in the boonies at some mud race, you're really far from home, but maybe you want to go out to eat. Maybe you want to hang out with your friends afterwards. And if you're trying to rinse off in public, it's almost impossible to do it right without totally exposing yourself. I actually did my first Tough Mudder last month, and afterwards it was such a pain in the ass to rinse off, especially when you have mud caked in all the wrong places. So basically, as a solution to their own problem, Connor's mom, Cressa, actually created a really cool invention that she calls the Shower Toga. And it's a loose-fitting garment that you slip on over your clothes, stays in place with a drawstring that goes around your neck for the women or around your waist for the men, and it also allows you to get undressed underneath. Then you use a water bottle or a hose and rinse your body off completely underneath. Then you can put clean clothes back on, all while staying covered and never revealing yourself to the people around. Now this is crazy because it also has deep pockets that have holes at the end, so you can reach in there, scrub your body, and clean those hard spots without flashing anybody by lifting up the bottom. This is not just a changing towel. It's something you can actually get wet and shower in public. But then you got to deal with all your nasty clothes, right? Well, the Shower Toga actually converts into a bag that you can throw all your nasty clothes in and then be on your way. It's literally genius. It has unlimited applications: getting clean while camping, changing after a run, rinsing off, helping the kids change after being at the pool, getting the chlorine out, a surfer that wants to go out with her friends after being in the ocean all day, a hiker that's all nasty and smelly and wants to go get a bite to eat. Literally, there are so many uses for it, it's crazy. And for me personally, I go to a lot of camping music festivals, and normally it's really hard to get a shower. The lines are super long, and a lot of times they even cost money. And once I get my shower toga, I will have no problem. I can shower at my campsite, change into my clothes outside of my cramped tent. Normally I'm having to like change inside my sleeping bag. It's super awkward. But the shower toga is being crowdfunded on Kickstarter right now. And if you back the project for only $19, you can actually get your own shower toga. Super cheap, super affordable. And if you buy more than one, it's actually discounted. And right now, the Kickstarter has received $10,000 pledged of their $14,000 goal, and there is only 8 days left in the campaign. It ends Saturday, June 17th, so you can Google Shower Toga Kickstarter, and it'll definitely be the first thing that pops up. Pledge $19 or more, and if the project is fully funded in the next 8 days, you will receive your own shower toga, and you'll be getting clean and showering in public in no time. Go do it. I'm not getting paid for this whatsoever. This is a product that I've personally backed. I personally spent my own money to get one. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I wouldn't be sharing this with you unless I truly believe it was a good product. It solves a huge issue that many people have. So go get yourself a shower toga and stop smelling like a dirty bum and help out Conor and his family of realizing their dream of launching this product. All right, that's enough about that. Without any further ado, here is my amazing friend, Conor Peterson.
Going live? All right.
We'll do it live.
All right. Fresh off the bat.
Yeah, man.
So you doing the introduction, or am I supposed to introduce myself?
That's a great question. So typically what I'll do is I'll kind of do like my own little introduction, and I'll put it in to the beginning. So by now the listener kind of knows a bit about you.
Okay, so it's a later on thing that you're going to be
exactly.
adding. Okay.
That's the only real kind of splicing that I do. The rest of the conversation I don't really edit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically by now the listener's already kind of known that you're a ninja. You're
cool.
You're, an athlete. I feel like when I think of Conor Peterson, I feel like a guy that's always trying to make himself better.
Yeah, and that's kind of a new thing for me. That wasn't like growing up. It wasn't always trying to make myself better. It was always trying to just stay kind of stagnant and just fit in. Instead of focusing on making myself better, it was making myself accepted by other people. And man, that was a dark hole that just kind of went down and down into. And then finally, I'd say once I found my athletic sports, besides skateboarding, skateboarding's been something I've been doing for a really long time. But once I found the love for actually being fit, because a lot of skateboarders they're not fit.
Yeah, typically they're either like really skinny or kind of chubby.
Exactly. I was the really skinny one. I was the stick and bones kid, and but once I found fitness, that was one next chapter of starting to kind of push the limits and find out who I want to be instead of who other people want me to be, and then most recently, it just kind of exponentially grew from there, from whether it be athletics, and then I start to kind of push the envelope with my social life once college hit, and once I decided that I'm not going to try to make other people happy anymore because that wasn't making me happy. That's when the big changes started taking place.
That's awesome. That's actually really beautiful. I think a lot of people, they spend way too much time trying to figure out what other people want them to be, and what other people and how other people perceive you. And I tended to do that. I think it's a natural thing to try to get the people around you to like you.
Of course obviously. It is. That's why we all have it. Depends on the situation, and I have multiple groups of friends, as most people do. You have your X group for this kind of stuff, for your parties, and then for your business, you have that group of friends, and you act differently according to who you're hanging out with, and the whole birds of a feather flock together. And there's this quote that I really like: birds of a feather flock together because they're heading in the same direction. And so if you only surround yourself with, people who are going down, then so forth. But as we were saying, the groups of people you hang out with, we're naturally wired to do what we can to feel accepted by them. But I think it's really important to first find out what we accept in ourselves. Instead of saying, hey, I'm going to act like this because I think they want me to. It's more like I'm going to be this version of myself that I'm true to, because that's the scenario, that's the setting, that's this type of person. I enjoy business. I really enjoy investing. That is great, but I'm not going to talk to my party friends about that. But do I like to go out and have a good time and have some drinks and maybe watch the game? Of course I do. But I have different groups of friends for different times. And so you have to find out, what part of you do you see in yourself, and instead of pretending to be that person, you just bring that part of you out when appropriate.
I like that. Yeah, one thing that I've been really trying to do, especially with this podcast, is I kind of feel like I tend to not be myself around the people that I've grown up with a lot because I've changed a decent bit.
Time.
Like for example, when I was traveling and I was over in Europe, I had no expectations of how to act because no one there knew me in a previous way. So there was no expectation for me to continue acting a certain way. And I'm not saying in any kind of ridiculous, crazy,
Start
radical,
stripping through the streets. And
no radical ways, but, just little things that I would notice in myself. And when you're traveling, you can really kind of like discover yourself sort of because you can kind of shed those expectations.
Yeah, no one has this preconceived notion of who you are there.
Yeah.
Where here or whenever you're home and you have mutual friends, that's usually how you meet someone. They have a preconceived idea of who you are. And so you're going to either try to match that or fight it, depending on what you feel their preconceived idea of you is. And so traveling is a great way to decide to, hey, fuck this, I'm going to be me.
Exactly.
Because nobody here knows anything about me that could, take out of who I really am.
Yeah, and you kind of can press that reset button of figuring out who the hell you even are.
Yeah.
And what it means to be yourself.
Yeah, you step out of your bubble, you clear your eyes, and you go, oh, shit, that's who? That's not me. That's who I want them to think I am.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think a lot of that, when you go to a psychologist or something, they always want to talk about your upbringing and stuff like that because I think that there's a lot of fingerprints of your upbringing that still continue on until sometimes you're a fully grown adult.
Of course.
So to kind of give people a little bit of background, like just kind of give me some like major milestones of your upbringing. Like how did baby Conor become the 23? You're 23?
23, yeah.
How did baby Conor evolve into this completely different human of 23?
Okay, so when I was a sperm cell, I'd say
I remember the day.
I grew up about 5 miles down the road from here in Woodstock, Georgia. Still, didn't get too far from home as for where I'm living, but I grew up at pretty much a farmhouse. It was 7 acres. We had the horses. We had all that, and great upbringing. Parents did the best they could with what they. When I say the best they could with what they had, we were well off in the sense of 7 acres, big house, barn. I had all that kind of stuff. But of course, at the time, I didn't understand the financial aspect of it, and they were in debt, major debt. And they're comfortable sharing this now, so it's not too personal for the listeners, though they would gladly tell you as well. But so that, my dad was working 24/7. My mom was stressed out about making bills too, and so.
Do you have siblings, right?
Yeah, I have a sister, and we'll get there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I actually do
a little bit of it.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit.
Yeah, you've heard a little bit, and so growing up, first 2 years went to public school, and then my parents decided to move us to a private school, and went to American Heritage Academy for 2 years. The whole uniforms and that whole thing. My parents were, I can't even believe how much they were paying. It's almost like college tuition, and I'm in elementary school at this time. It's nuts. And from there, we went to Fellowship Christian Academy. So I went there for 2 years, and we were actually told, to my understanding, that we weren't allowed to go back due to religious belief reasons. And I think we're going to touch base with that later on in this episode.
So basically, like, there was a difference in beliefs between your family and the school, and you weren't allowed to go back, or?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Not only a difference in beliefs, but in how they ran the school and how they were way too aggressive with it. Because I'm in 3rd or 4th grade, and we had Bible class, right? And I remember them telling at our third or fourth grade, it was because it was there for 2 years, one of those years, I believe it was fourth grade, that they told us that if a baby dies before it can accept Jesus Christ, it goes to hell. Or, the first layer, the purgatory, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever part of Christianity you want to believe.
Whatever level of hell you think babies go to. And so that's a little much for
level.
A fourth grader, right? Like I was like, wait, what the fuck? And so that, along with many, that was one of many situations that got my family. They told us we weren't allowed back, but we definitely weren't going back. And so then I went back to public school, but those 4 years of going to private school really sheltered me. I had my group of friends at private school, and for any of my private school, elementary school listeners, they know how much dirt they talk about public schools. I thought that it was like me going from Laguna Beach, California to a prison with only murderers and rape. Like that's what they make it seem like. That, oh, you're going to public school? Oof, man.
Good luck.
Yeah, I was freaking out. I was scared. And this is going into sixth grade is when I went back to
That's
public
that kind
school.
of mentality that they kind of brainwash the kids so that if the parents even kind of mention that, the kids are like scared to go, and so they're like, okay, we'll keep you in the school.
And that's what the kids talk about at school also. So not only do you have adults
my
thinking
public
that,
school friends in my neighborhood, he did drugs one time, or
he
like
microwaved his hamster last night. Some crazy shit. And so going into public school, sixth grade, I remember 2 weeks into it, my mom's driving me to school again, and I'm crying in the car, and I'm like, please just take me back to Fellowship Christian. And of course, that didn't seem like, I was glad to get out of there. And I was like, okay, get me back, because, I'm scared. I'm not making any friends. And she agreed. And she's driving me back to Fellowship Christian, and she calls my dad, and he's like, no, like that's ridiculous. He's going to public school. Best decision he's ever made. And so eventually made my friend Connor Knight, and we're not friends any longer, but he lived not too far from me, and he introduced me to skateboarding. And that's what really kicked off my group of friends. Because, sixth grade through middle school, skateboarding was the thing. The other sports kind of, at least for our area, skateboarding was the shit. And
there's like an element of coolness to skateboarding. It's not a traditional team sport where you're rigid in this thing. You're like a rebel, and you're doing this very dangerous action sport, and so you feel really cool.
Exactly. So going from the kid from a private Christian school to hanging out with one of the considered cool kids, because he's a skateboarder, got me into skateboarding. And so that was the turn of a leaf, and I was like, this is great. And middle school hit. Middle school was all right. I was one of the higher up there skateboarders, and so it was not the best by any means. There were multiple people way better. But, I was in that clique, so it was great. And then
have you always kind of been like, were you into sports when you were much younger too?
No. Okay. As much as any other kid was, I guess.
Gotcha.
I played like the rec basketball for the.
Yeah.
But
did you always kind of strive to be at the top level, or were you just kind of going along with it because it was fun?
No, I was just going along with it because it was fun. I never had my ambition didn't kick in until. I guess. I mean, it's been
high school.
Yeah, but it's been growing though, depending on what area of ambition.
I was going to say, because ever since I've known you, you've always been very ambitious as far as like getting to the top of whatever you're doing. I feel like. Yeah,
that's either.
It's not a bad thing either.
It's either a flaw or it's a good thing. I'm not sure which yet.
Sometimes it can be a curse, just because it's like, dude, why are you spending so much time doing that? But it's like, if you really love it and you're passionate about it, then I don't see any harm in it. It's not being detrimental.
My problem is too many passions, but we'll definitely get there. But yeah, so high school hits, everyone stops skateboarding, and so the football and all that becomes a big thing, which is cool. I love all sports. I just have found the ones that work for me. I don't do well in a team setting. I do well in a me setting. I want to be responsible for anything that happens, and that's why I do the sports that I do. That being said, I like to have fun with all the other ones. I decided not to do them. High school hit, I'm the 6 foot tall, 135 pound skin and bones kid who is, marked as the pot smoking, skateboarding kid. Could I hang out? I hung out with those kids. That's who I grew up with, and a lot of them were kind of troublemakers. A lot of them weren't. but I always managed to keep, A's and B's and all that. But unfortunately, Sequoia High School is very stereotypical. I guess I could say stereotypical, but they judged me pretty hard. That being said,
is everyone there like pretty preppy, or like what's the deal?
Hypocritical Bible humpers is what I like to say a lot.
I see.
Yeah, and so once they found out I wasn't Christian, that kind of blew up in many ways. And then I remember I saw this girl at a party in college, and she's like, "Oh my God, Connor, how are you?" And I was like, "Oh, great to see you." And it was, nice girl. We never had any problems. The host of the party was like, "You guys know each other?" And she's like, "Yeah, Connor and I were like really good friends in high school." And she's one of the preppy cheerleader girls, and we never really talked in high school. She's like, "We were great friends in high school." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." She's like, "We would have hung out more if you weren't always in ISS." And I was like, "I had ISS twice for my cell phone going off in 4 years." She's like, no, you were always in there with insert name, not going to do
Yeah.
that. But you were always in there with those guys.
Because you were associating with the kids that were always in ISS.
With them. So a lot of them kind of put me onto that. And then once I stopped smoking weed, all my friend group stopped hanging out with me. And I remember a conversation I had with this kid and one of my really good friends growing up. And he was just like, "Well, man, like, we're just going to be," I was like, "You want to hang out?" He's like, "Well, we're just going to be over here smoking and hanging out. So, I don't think so, man."
Dang.
Like, and so it was just a bunch of that. And so,
did they think that you were like going to judge them for smoking, or?
No. They just didn't want to hang out really anymore. And they started, and that's right around when I started fighting too. And once I started fighting, they all started saying some poor things, like, "Oh, you think you..." Like, I never posted about it, and I tried to keep it secret for a little bit, but I was going with someone from the high school.
When you're in high school, it's weird because you're completely surrounded by peers, and you can't get away from them.
Right. And
That's what's so odd about high school.
And it's 4 years of the same people.
Exactly.
And you're not adults yet. So when you're adults in a business setting, yes, you're going to have some drama. You have that group, and you might be around for a long time. But they're adults.
Exactly. And you live your own separate life other than your work life.
Exactly. When you're in high school, it's a society, and that's the society you're part of until you leave.
It is quite odd.
Yeah, and so fast forwarding throughout high school, I had a tough time, but not that tough in comparison to most people.
It's not like you were depressed and like losing your mind.
Yeah, no, I was
hating your life.
I remember wishing I was religious so I was more accepted. It was that whole, I was constantly fighting for acceptance, so I definitely never got it.
That's kind of interesting that you were like wishing that you were religious so that you could be accepted. Do you think you just asked too many questions to be religious? Is that like why you couldn't?
Today or then?
Just then. Like, why do you, like you said, you wished you were religious, but you probably could have been if you wanted to be, I guess.
No, because that's like telling somebody that they can believe in any religion if they want to, which isn't true. If you want to believe Buddhism, if you want to believe, those Islamic terrorists who believe the Westboro Baptist Church, those fucking crazy people, if you want to believe that, you can. And that, for me, that's like hearing, you can believe this if you want. I just couldn't. And I wanted to because and I really don't want to offend.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean,
these are my beliefs. I respect everyone's beliefs as long as they don't judge me for mine. But it's a cop-out. It's a great cop-out. It's easy to say, I don't have the answer for this, so here's my answer.
I have faith in this.
I have faith in this, though.
Whatever. Yeah. And I agree. And one thing that I do think is interesting, like you said, it'd be hard for someone who believes this then all of a sudden to just believe this. But I think it's also that 99% of people are pretty malleable, and based on your upbringing, if you were born in Iraq, you'd be Muslim. We kind of talked about this the other night. If you were born in China, you'd be Buddhist. But it just so happens that you were born in the Great South, you were born in Georgia, so you are a Southern Baptist, or you're a Catholic, or you're a Christian, or whatever. You're born in the Bible Belt. It's just what happens.
Exactly, which is why the judgment is so absurd nowadays, where people get judged for their beliefs when in reality it's all based off the situations that they were born in, or that whatever they've experienced. Because like we talked about the other night, there's no proof, and I have this belief that if I was born in the exact same body as those, with my soul or whatever you want to call it.
Consciousness.
Yeah,
whatever.
Me born in another body. And I went through every single experience and I was born in the same place, same parents, and every experience down to a fly landing on my arm. If I lived through all of that, the same as the terrorists who attacked us on 9/11, who's to say I wouldn't be one, right? So that's why when other people are judging me, or I in my head am judging somebody else, I think of that. Like, you know what? If I was them and they were me, we would be having the same conversation right now.
Mm-hmm. And that's a beautiful way of looking at life too.
Yeah, exactly.
Think of everyone as yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I have a very dark sense of humor, which will probably come out later. Some people I say, they're fucking idiots. But I hope they think the same about me in some instances, because my beliefs, my mindset, I know are seen as absurd to some other people, and that's fine. There's no problems with thinking that, the other spectrum of your beliefs is absurd, as long as you respect the fact that that's because of their situation, that's because of who they are, their upbringing, and we need to respect that other people, because without diversity in mindsets and beliefs, it would be a boring world. What would we talk about? It was like, oh yeah, we all agree on everything. Great. That would suck.
That's actually very interesting. I haven't like completely given that a ton of thought, but you're right. Like if everyone believed the exact same thing, it'd be a boring ass world.
Yeah, it would suck.
I think debate is a beautiful thing, and I think a lot of people stray away from debates.
They do because they get heated about it. I love debating. Like if you were a hardcore Christian, and religion got brought up, and we were going back and forth, and nothing was getting heated. I love that. I love either fact checking or seeing something from a different perspective. The problem is most people aren't willing to open the doors to seeing another perspective. They're just locked in their own head that anything that comes in either makes them angry or makes them resent you. And neither of those are good options. So you either need to open the door to different perspectives, and you can think they're ridiculous. You can say, "What a fucking idiot." But I understand.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of looking at it. It's like there is a great percentage of people that are complete idiots.
Oh, yeah.
But you can sympathize because a lot of times they, for lack of a better phrase, they can't help it. It's like that's just the situation they've been put in. That's the body they've been given. That's the brain they've been given. That's the situation that life has dealt them.
Yeah.
And
if you were asking them what percentage of idiots are in the world, we might fall under that because they have just the opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's situational. I can't judge someone for what they believe because I haven't been legitimately in their shoes for their whole life. Some people are like, imagine it from in their shoes. And all you do is imagine yourself with all your experiences and your mindset and your beliefs in that situation in their shoes. Where that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to imagine yourself in their shoes before they could even wear shoes.
Exactly.
And forward on.
Yeah.
And no one can do that.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. I got into a pretty big debate on Facebook recently where we were kind of talking about cultural appropriation. I know we're kind of straying away from your story a little bit, but I think this is kind of
loop it around.
I was going to say this is an interesting topic that I kind of don't want to lose our little train of thought going here. But we were talking about cultural appropriation, and if people are unfamiliar with what that means, it's basically the idea that someone can take something from a culture and essentially appropriate it, meaning take it and use it as their own while still degrading other parts of the culture. Like, for example, embracing hip-hop music but still hating black people.
Cherry picking.
Yeah, cherry picking and taking the good parts but leaving the bad. And I think that that's kind of what everyone does with a lot of things. And I think it's kind of silly to say, because culture, at the very bottom, at the very most basic thing, culture is an invention. Someone no smarter than you or I decided that I'm going to invent hip-hop one day, and they happened to be black. Yeah. And it became part of the black culture. But just as easily, a Chinese person could have invented hip-hop, and then I'd be appropriating it from them, or whatever.
Yeah, it all goes down to, like you said, when you put a giant seed, it seems hard for people to understand now that we didn't have this technology. We didn't have Facebook. So when it comes to culture, which is what we're talking, there was no way of getting it out and about. It grew from one spot and it slowly grew from that area, and just the circle slowly got bigger. Where nowadays, if something new happens, it's everywhere. If it's popular, if it's something big, posting on Facebook, and you get 40, 50, 60 million views. Whereas before, when hip hop first invented, or something in those areas, it didn't have that outreach. Whereas before,
and it's like, this is our thing. Don't take it from us.
Right. Yeah.
And I think like there's good and bad parts of every culture. Like
of course,
white Americans. There's a terrible trailer trap.
We're the worst.
There's tons of terrible white people that
There's just tons of terrible people.
There's just that's a great way of putting it. There's tons of great people and there's tons of terrible people, and I think we should strive to kind of cherry pick these awesome things, because isn't that what moves things forward? Like taking the good things, but I don't agree with dismiss. Like, for example, loving hip hop, but hating black people. Obviously, that's a terrible thing. But embracing hip hop as a white person, or even wearing dreadlocks as a white person, people will say, "Oh, you're culture appropriation," or using chopsticks as a white person, or wearing a Native American headdress. Whatever you want to say, it is.
It's ridiculous. If you're doing it. Once again, if you're doing it for acceptance, then yes, that's not a good thing to be doing.
Yeah.
If you're doing it because you truly appreciate either the culture, as we're saying, or you just want to. If that's who you are, you see something, you want to do it, you should fucking do it.
Yeah.
And regardless of someone saying, "Oh, that's not part of your culture," that's just
culture is kind of bullshit. It's like
culture is just
an
a
invention.
word. It's a word.
Yeah.
Is what it is, and that we've associated with small area or larger areas, depending on how large the culture. And it's absurd to have to limit yourself to your culture or to judge others based off where they feel like they should belong.
It's definitely, I feel like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's definitely a primal feeling that you identify with the people you were raised around. Yeah, it's a tribe, I identify with this tribe. And I think,
how about the tribe of people? That tribe needs to start kicking in.
Dude, if we had some sort of alien race that came down and started a global war against us, we would unite so fast.
Yeah.
Dude, we'd be the tribe of people, man.
We'd be too busy fighting each other during that war.
But like, for example, there was a portion, I think it was in World War II or World War I. I'm getting this wrong for sure, but definitely because I just said both. It could be either one. But there was a portion, I believe they were fighting in Germany, and there was... there was packs of wolves that were actually killing more people in the woods during this war than the people fighting the people. So they actually had a ceasefire for a while to actually kill the wolves. And then once the wolves were gone...
Is that legit? I have not heard that.
Yeah, it was it's an interesting thing. I'll have to look it up and put it in the show notes or whatever. But,
okay, yeah. You should do that because I want to look that up.
Yeah, but there was like a ceasefire and they're like, okay, Team Human, we hate each other, but let's not let these fucking wolves decide our fate. Let's kill these wolves, and then we'll resume and kill each other.
Sounds like we need some bitch aliens to show up so we can all team up, defeat them, and be like, you know what, teaming up isn't so bad.
Because after any type of after 9/11 in New York, everyone talks about how cordial everyone was and how friendly everyone was, and everyone was so in tune with the fact of like, holy shit, we're alive, bro. Like, this is a privilege, and like we coexist in this beautiful place. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, we coexist, yet there's still so much hate, which
yeah, it's quite sad.
Yeah, so
but I think we can kind of loop this back around now.
Unnatural loop, bam.
Exactly, great segue. Back to the story.
Yeah, so I'll speed up the life story. Once I hit college,
it's a good story.
Once I hit college, that's when I started to find myself a lot more.
But
like
we don't want to skip past the sister thing either, because that's a good part of the story.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And this is your older sister, right?
Yeah, that's my older sister. I'll that still fits into the high school. So come it was my junior year. My sister throughout high school. This is a great part. Actually, when I'm in 8th grade, and she is a junior in high school, she was she's heavily an alcoholic at this time already.
She's like 16, 17 as a junior, probably.
Yeah, but she was an alcoholic starting freshman year.
Wow.
Stealing liquor. But that's when she became comfortable with letting me know. Not that she was an alcoholic. She didn't say, "Hey, I'm an alcoholic."
But she was letting you know that she drank.
Yeah, which junior in high school, we all did.
It was cool.
Burp. And so what she would do is, it would be like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and I had 8th grade the next morning, and she had Sequoia or high school, and she would come into my room and she would say, "Do you want to play Circle of Death?" Which is the card game, the drinking card game. No, it's 1 a.m., Layla. I'm trying to sleep. She goes, "No, if you want to be cool in high school, you have to know how to drink." And like I said before, my goal was to be accepted by other people, not to accept myself, but for other people to accept me. So, oh my God, okay, fine. And this was, not daily, but it happened a lot, where she would just get me shit-faced.
And you were in 8th grade?
Yeah, on weekdays before 8th grade.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And you guys were drinking liquor or beer or what?
Liquor was her choice.
Wow.
Yeah, usually vodka. And that was her shit. That was her thing. And I thought it was normal. I wanted to be cool in high school. I needed to know how to drink. I needed to get a stomach. Disclaimer, I've always been a lightweight, even after all that. But,
Me too, actually.
So she pulled that shit. Looking back, I don't resent her at all for it. We're really good now. We'll get there. So my freshman year hits, and she's still drinking heavily, but I'm cool with all the seniors, all her friends. They all loved me. So my freshman year was pretty cool because I was friends with all the seniors. My sister's one of the popular girls because she was a party girl and drank a lot. And then she graduated. I moved on. And she continued with the drinking, but the drinking got a lot worse. So she tried to get sober a few times and was unable to do so. 3-month chip, relapse. 6-month relapse. Started dipping into drugs, heroin, cocaine, meth.
Wow.
Yeah, no, she got heavy into it. She actually started dating this guy who was a real piece of shit. I remember I had to once hop in my car and drive over to his place, and he was, honestly, I got the call from my mom saying that my sister called her about her getting physically abused, and who knows if that was true or not. I didn't see any bruises, but she was probably messed up at the time. So I had to rush over there, drive, and she ran out of the house and ran into my car. She's like, go. Drove off.
Wow.
Ended up getting a restraining order against him, all that good stuff. My sister ends up dating this other guy, cool guy. I'm still friends with him, but previous guy said that he was going to hang that inward from a tree because he was a black guy. Yeah, so bad dude. So you can see she was getting herself into bad situations frequently, and then she got hit a telephone pole going 70 drunk, and survived it because she was drunk. She blacked out, and then while she was driving, and then woke up with her car wrapped around a telephone pole. And ends up hitchhiking back to our house. And, of course, the next morning, the fucking cops are there. All they had to do was run the tag. And so they run the tag, and my mom answers the door. And, of course, she's pulling the whole, no, you can't see her. And the cop's like, listen. And so sister comes down. He's like, I smell the alcohol in your breath, yada, yada, yada. Long story short, we have a badass attorney, and she only got failure to maintain lane. Didn't get all these charges. She should have gotten destruction of government property, telephone pole damage, destruction of private property because she pulled out a tree stump. Ridiculous. DUI. There was an open alcohol container in the car. And, so she could have gotten all of this, but we lucked out. But that was kind of an eye-opening experience for her. And then she ended up, my mom contacted Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
It was a stretch of an effort, and of course.
So what did your mom did your mom watch Dr. Phil, or was she just thinking we got to do something drastic?
I never remember seeing Dr. Phil on the show or anything, but I don't fuck if I know. Honestly, I guess as a parent, she was doing anything she could.
She just thought, I need to do something drastic and wake this girl up.
I got to do something because she's putting in effort, but it's not working. She's doing the AA meetings just in this area, but it's not working because AA is an amazing thing if you have an alcohol problem, but it's only as amazing as you let it be, because if you still surround yourself with the same people, the potential for relapse is a lot higher. If you're still in the same place, except you go to this meeting once a day, the triggers are going to be a lot stronger.
Oh yeah.
Than if you are just completely the reset button we talked about earlier.
Yep.
If you can just reset, makes it a lot better. So
exactly. And actually on episode 3 of the podcast, I talked with my friend Davis, and he actually has been 4 years sober now as an alcoholic.
yeah.
And we talked a lot about rehab and stuff. So
Hell yeah, that's fucking awesome. Did
Yeah.
he do it out of state?
he lived in Tennessee, and then he came here for inpatient rehab.
Yeah. Yep.
So it was like a hard reset for him, and that podcast is really awesome. If you want to hear more about rehab,
Yeah, I have,
then,
I have
listen
a
to that
drive
one.
coming up here pretty soon, and so I'm deciding between that or Ashland's because I'm good friends with Ashland.
Yeah.
But so she ended up on the show, and
And were you on the show too?
no, so the producers came, they interviewed our whole family, and they decided to take my sister and my mom, the two that cry more. And because honestly, at this point, coming from my perspective, and this was something that my sister later on told me when she was in rehab and we went and visited. It was a family visit, and she's supposed to, and her job for that visit, or one of the classes we took, was she has to say, why she appreciates us, or just big events in her life that kind of made her want to become sober. And one of them was when I was probably a freshman or sophomore, and I remember her sneaking into my parents' liquor cabinet, and I'm downstairs and I'm watching TV, and I look at her and I go, "Layla, really? Like, again?" And apparently that had a huge effect on her, because that was the first time I ever said to her, because up until that point I looked up to her. She's a party girl, she's popular, she's awesome. I started to slowly see, this is not okay. And I was like, are you serious right now? And so that was something big that hit her. And so she ends up on the Dr. Phil show. She ends up going to rehab in Arizona, right? Yeah. And it was like a 90-day, and without Dr. Phil, we couldn't have afforded it. It was one of the top of the top. It was like $1,200 to $1,500 a day.
And Dr. Phil paid for the whole thing?
Yep. Well,
Wow.
They had an agreement where once my sister was out, obviously they can't show it when she's still there based off potential contacts, because she was in some deep. She probably knew some real bad people. But so they couldn't know where she was. So once that was released, they did an ad for the place that she went to, and so I think it's an agreement that they had.
I see. So it's basically
We'll
an
accept one of your
advertisement.
people, but that's, advertisement on Dr. Phil.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Score. Yeah, and Dr. Phil made our family look so trashy. We're not. I promise.
That's funny.
Yeah, and so
Catch
that
me
was,
outside. How about that?
God.
At least you're not that. At least it wasn't that.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, no, there were 3 girls from Sequoia, my high school, that were on Dr. Phil, and luckily my sister, I don't know how the other 2 are doing now. I just know that Dr. Phil wasn't the turning point for them because they went back down again. Hopefully they're doing well. But luckily for my sister, it was the turning point. Things went well. But I'm in high school when all this is going on, so once again, preconceived notion of my family and who I am and my sister, and so that was fun. And,
Yeah, wow.
So
Because your family's in the limelight, and
yeah,
everyone knows, and
and people already don't like me much. So all that happened. So my parents started drug testing me, which is the first reason I quit smoking weed. Oh man, there's a story behind that too. Once they start drug testing me, I was like, fuck, I can't smoke weed, but what I can do is I can smoke spice. So I smoked spice for a little
which,
bit.
for people who don't know, is fake weed, basically synthetic.
Synthetic. It's sold as incense or additions to soap, but they sell it at smoke shops. They know exactly what they're doing. And
It's like a loophole.
it's a huge loophole, but it's chemicals. You're smoking. There's no CBD. There's no THC. It's just a bunch of bullshit that
They
makes
spray
you,
onto some leaves.
that makes you feel weird and can kill you. So I started smoking that, and then I'm in the woods one day camping out with my friends, and I smoke a blunt of this stuff, and my parents call, and they're like, no, you're not allowed to stay out tonight. You stayed out last night. That was a rule. I wasn't allowed to stay out 2 nights in a row. And they're like, you got to come home. And I'm like, okay. So I stand up, I start walking towards my car, and then I wake up in the bushes. And, my friends are around me, and they're screaming. They're like, Connor, get up. Like, what the fuck, dude? And so I wake up, and they're like, dude, you're not driving. And I'm like, duh. What's happening right now? And so 2 of them that smoked, but they were fine. One of them drove me home in my car, and the other one drove his car and followed. Picked up my friend that drove me, so it looked like car was home, I'm home. I walk inside. And my parents were like, "Are you okay? You're like really sweaty." And I was like, I've been skateboarding," and it was raining outside. I'm out of my mind at this point. And I was like, "Oh, I've been skateboarding," and they're like, "No, you haven't been," Yeah, and so next thing I know, once again, everything goes blank from there. I wake up, paramedics, firefighters, cops, all at my house. I'm hooked up to a bunch of shit.
Whoa.
Yeah, and mom is losing her mind, as she should be.
Because it wasn't like you smoked a little bowl of this stuff. You smoked like an entire blunt of it?
No, we all smoked a blunt, and I only took a few hits. And I'd smoked in personal blunts before, but for some reason, this time around. So
So it wasn't like a ridiculous amount?
No, I heard of the risk before, and I thought it didn't affect me. I've smoked full blunts before, and that wasn't a big deal. And so I took a couple hits, the puff pass of a blunt, but between like 5 people or so. And and so I wake up and I have all that shit, and they ask me, like, "What did you have?" Because they don't know at this point.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Zombie killer, that was the name of the strain or whatever. And like zombie killer,
quote unquote strain.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, the label,
chemical makeup,
the bullshit they put on the package. And they're all like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And there was actually a kid who died from it. That's a few of the guys were on call for a few weeks before from zombie killer. And so I started seizing and all that. And luckily, it all passed, and I was throwing up for the rest of the night. I remember throwing up in the toilet and hearing the cops talking about pressing charges, because actually, if you do admit to human consumption, it's not for human consumption. You can get charged. And so...
That's so
or
ridiculous.
Or they were threatening. I'm not sure if that's... But I remember hearing arrest.
But if it's like incense and it's like not for human consumption, what is the deal of them pressing charges?
Right.
They're pressing
I just remember hearing it.
You're committing crimes against the state because you're consuming incense.
You should be able to eat soap if you want. Yeah. You shouldn't, but...
That's fucking retarded.
But I just remember hearing them bring up... getting arrested, and it was the one guy who I remember who was kind of the dickhead of everyone. Everyone was glad I was okay, and this one was the power guy. But yeah, I'll never forget the look on my mom's face when I saw her crying, because this is pretty fresh after my sister being on Dr. Phil, because that's when they decided they were going to start drug testing me for weed, because they caught me with weed a few times. Was never really an issue, but I was, I guess, too young to be smoking weed at the time, so I understand.
Yeah, it can affect you when you're young.
And so she just finished dealing with that as a family, and then I put them through that, and I still feel bad for that to this day. But she said that, they had seen my sister after she gotten like roofied and had to go to the hospital, and they've seen her strung out and everything like that. But my mom told me she's never seen someone closer, like look more like death than I did when I was seizing off that. I was doing the whole shit, all that stuff. And so that was quite a wake-up call. And that's when I decided I'm going to quit smoking, anything and everything for now. I was still smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. And everyone, just keep listening on. I promise, I change. But, I was still, so that's when... And then once college hit, she's finally in rehab, my sister. She's doing well. And, has not had a relapse since. It's been 7 years come November.
Wow, that's
She'll
amazing.
be 7 years sober. She runs a sober living house in California. She started dating this guy who was a ex-heroin addict. Obviously, they met through her old company, or through the company that she used to work for, accepting people to come in and get sober, inpatient stuff. And they weren't allowed to, obviously the patients and the workers aren't allowed to associate with each other outside of, they broke that rule. And started dating, and now they're married. He's a magnificent dude. He's awesome. And they started dating when he was working at a CVS, I think that's where he was working at the time, and it wasn't even that long ago he stopped working, CVS or whatever, and now he's just killing it. He started his own company, and they're doing an amazing job. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's the fact that my family went through that, and to see how much we've grown in every single aspect since then is insane.
Yeah, I feel like your family's like really badass. Like since I've met your family, like your parents are really badass people, and you're really cool. I've never met your sister, but I assume she's awesome too. You'll have to. She's an awesome. She's not the fitness freak we are, but as for everything else, when it comes to business and mindset, she's a phenomenal human being. That's awesome, dude.
And because when all this stuff was going down with drinking, we were a very disconnected family. It was, my father was stressed out about bills. We didn't know what, if we could make the mortgage was probably insane because we were.
It was a really big house and really big yard and all that.
Sold for like.
Did you guys have like dirt bikes and stuff growing up?
Oh yeah, we had dirt bikes. So I remember my favorite thing was my go-kart, and we had a pasture that I could ride the go-kart in, and paintball, and a couple horses you ride around, and 2 lakes, and yeah, it was. And I had a half pipe in the backyard, a pool.
You had a half pipe? That's sick.
Oh, I had a half pipe at the house we're at now, or my parents are at now.
That's sweet.
Ended up building one there, but yeah. So the family dynamic was pretty insane of how close we are now. And of course, while you're going through it, you don't think, oh, this is going to be so much better later on in the long run. But we're so tight now. And I'm not going to say because of that, because, we're family, we're going to be tight.
But like going through hard things definitely brings you closer together.
Exactly. You can look back and see like, wow, we made it through this, and it has made this bond that much stronger.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I love the shit out of them. And yeah, so college hits. I finally start getting, it's weird to say it, but accepted by people. I move into the lofts of Kennesaw. First year they were open. That shit was a blast. I'll never have that much fun in my life again. I would not.
Freshman year.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it again because, but partying and the whole college scene, I really got to live that out there. And that's, I was doing the partying, but I was still maintaining A's and B's throughout college. I was still working out.
That's the struggle. That's
find the happy
freshman
middle.
year.
You gotta find the happy middle.
The struggle between partying every night and getting A's and B's and not dying.
Yeah, so this is something that, and we talked about this the other day, was 90% of the time make good decisions, and that's it. 10% of the time, go ahead and do it. So 90% of the time, studying, working out, going and fighting. 10% of the time, partying my ass off. So that meant I got to keep good grades. I got to excel for my division in fighting and everything. But then,
what type of fighting were you doing?
Well, I was training MMA, but my specialty and what I only competed in was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and grappling.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
I talked a little bit about that with my friend Elizabeth that we actually talked about the other day, but we didn't like go on it like too intensely. But obviously, fighting like brings out like a level of confidence.
Yeah, it brings out a level of confidence, but it's also very humbling. Because
you're constantly on the verge of death every single day. Like someone could like literally choke you out and kill you every single practice or whatever.
Yeah, if you don't tap. Well,
but I mean, even if you did tap, they could decide if they wanted to keep choking you and kill. I mean, like that's
it's definitely a level of vulnerability that a lot of people don't ever feel, and the humbleness that comes with it though, because at this time, I was probably, I was at the gym for a while. I was a stocky, in shape dude, so I thought I could hold my own, and then I go up against this dweeb at Striker Fights, and I'm like, you want me to fight him? Okay. And just kicks my ass.
Just because his technique was so much better?
Wipes the floor with me. And there were a few females that would kick my ass. And I have no problem saying, there are a lot of guys, and I still hear them when I go to fight nights to watch UFC fights, and they're like, oh, do you think you could beat her up? And it's like, oh, yeah, I'm a dude, of course. And I'm like, dude, no. There are amateur girl fighters that kick my ass, and I have some training under my belt.
So it doesn't matter if you're much bigger than them. They've just got insane technique.
Yeah, it's nuts. So jiu-jitsu, it was when I started training to fight, I wanted to be a boxer, Muay Thai, and I was like, oh, cool, rolling around with sweaty dudes, not my thing. But it's such a great sport, and I really wish I kept doing it, but unfortunately there was no, me getting into the UFC at the age I was training at was not likely, and the other sports that I've chosen to follow through with have a higher potential for striving to be towards the top. So I dropped MMA and fighting. But, going through college and doing that and having that discipline, I think it's really important for everyone to have a discipline, and a discipline that you enjoy. So people are like, oh, I have a discipline. I'm in school. Do you like school? No, I hate school. Well, you need to find a discipline that you enjoy, whether that be something fitness related, whether it be art related. And my issue is I have too many, and a lot of people's issue is they don't even have a single one, So, and so you, for example, you really enjoy, you're a fitness guy, you love travel, you love doing these podcasts and, kind of expanding your knowledge. And that's a great discipline to have, because sometimes you don't want to do it. Sometimes you don't want to go to the gym. But it's the discipline, and you go there, and you're glad you got it done. And but some people, it's just wake up, go to work, or go to school, party. Partying is not a discipline for you people.
Or just freaking Netflixing.
Yeah, or just numbing the mind instead of trying to practice on expanding it. And so that was, I ended up dropping out of college because I got got Dean's List, maintained A's and B's, Hope Scholarship the whole entire time. Got a job opportunity at my dad's company, so now I work at home in my underwear on the computer, just doing day trading software development, and I got that going for my main career. I have other side stuff for side income that I like to do. I still teach skateboarding lessons when I can because I used to teach at Progressive Skate Park throughout high school.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, throughout high school, I was a summer camp instructor at Progressive Skate Park, and I did private lessons. I actually have some business cards up there I'll show you later.
Nice.
That I'll still hand out at the skate park because I've actually had a few people ask if I teach. And so that
It's funny, I've never really thought about a skateboarding teacher. Because I feel like typically a lot of the times, you kind of just go to the skate park and just get your friends to teach you or whatever. But I feel like there's definitely there's an art to skateboarding, kind of like, fighting or learning an instrument or a sport or anything. And
of course,
having a teacher makes sense.
Yeah, no, I remember my favorite student I ever had, for personal, I have some students I still keep up with to this day that I taught when they were little kids at the skate camp. But for a one-on-one lesson, I had this woman, and she pulls up, and all I know is this was through a company that I worked for one-on-one. Like, all right, you have a lesson, they'll be here at this time. Cool. This probably 60-plus-year-old lady gets out of her car, and I'm waiting for her to pull a kid out of the back or something. She starts padding up. And I'm like, you know what? Hell yeah. And so who's she going to go to? She can't go to the skate park. That's way too intimidating. A lot of beginning skateboarders, the skate park's an intimidating place.
It is very intimidating. I've gone to a skate park, and all I can really do is ollie and ride off a curb.
And that's light years above what most beginning skateboarders can do.
That's very true.
And so I remember I taught her for a couple of weeks, and she was doing a great job. And then
That's funny. What did she say her motivation was?
No, I never even got around to that, and I wish I did. At that time, I didn't have that drive for figuring out why people have. So I was just like, cool, train. And so I remember where I finally taught her how to go off a little ramp, and I give them homework assignments to go home and do. And she's sending me videos because I had them send me videos so I could critique what their technique was and everything. And then she was doing it perfectly, going off the ramp, landing into grass. I said, keep doing that. Don't do it onto concrete until I can spot you, and hold on. She sends me a video of her doing it onto concrete and breaking her wrist. It's like,
oh, man.
I can only do the best I can do. But, so I have that. Then I'll still do them here and there, but I don't push it anymore.
Did she quit after she broke her wrist?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Never heard from her.
Was she mad?
No, not at all. She was actually kind of, you told me I shouldn't. I should have listened. I'm sorry. She was actually more so sorry than anything else. And I'm like, hey, part of me wants to give you props because, that's probably honestly what I would have done. Fuck it. I think I got this. And I still do that to this day.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I got this. People are telling me what to do, but if I think I got it, I'm going for it. So that part I respect, but as a coach, fuck.
Yeah.
She should have listened. But, I guess that's where I came to be me. Well, I guess I only ended at college there. Fuck, I've been out of college for a while now.
Yeah.
Damn, it seems like it was just yesterday.
I dropped after freshman year.
Yeah, I made it to junior, and I was like, you know what? This just isn't for me.
Yeah.
I don't think college is for most people, honestly.
Yeah, it's a very rigid system that I feel like most people kind of square peg in a round hole kind of thing, and they just force their way into it. And it ends up not being for them. Either they get that degree and they finish and they realize, fuck, I went to school for the wrong thing, and they pursue a completely different path, or maybe they 3 years down into it and they realize, what am I even doing? I've got to figure out something else. And
yeah, I have a friend, and it's pretty scary because she just got her degree and she's working in a hospital now. And she messaged me, and we were talking back and forth, and she goes, I just realized that for the rest of my life, I'll be spending 12 hours of most days in a hospital, and I hate it here. Mm-hmm. I was like,
that's rough, man.
And she's making a lot of money, but who cares at that point?
Yeah.
I wouldn't take multi-million-dollar salary for hating 12 hours most days.
And I think our generation's realizing that work-life balance a lot more than our parents' generation did.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing I'm super thankful for is I don't have student loans. A lot of people have the student loans that they have to work for. So it's once you're locked into that system, it's a lot harder to get out. We're lucky enough to have gotten out. I'm not sure if you have student loans, but
I don't.
Yeah, so no student loans and everything. And we're both ambitious, and I don't like the term entrepreneur, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of cheesy.
Exactly, it's cheesy, but
and it's overplayed.
We realize that there are multiple options of making life possible without a degree, and many of them, like having a degree means that good job, you're going to work for somebody else, and you might have of course there are people with degrees that become CEO and head of companies.
But even as a CEO, you're still working for somebody because you're not the owner.
Yeah. So
and I think that also there's been this fetishization or fetish, I guess that's the word. I don't know, fetishism of owning your own company. But I also see no problem in being the number 2 or number 3 guy.
Of course not.
And even especially, let's say it's a really small startup or something, and you have the freedom to kind of be that quote-unquote digital nomad, and you kind of let's say you want to move to Bali, and you're the number 2, number 3 guy of a company, even though you're not the owner, maybe you've got enough responsibilities and whatever that you can still do that and kind of work off your computer. That's the beauty of living in the century that we live in.
Exactly. That's one of my biggest goals, and something that I won't settle for is I need the ability to move around. And to be, first off, one of my biggest goals is financial freedom. I'm not going to say wealth, because there are plenty of wealthy people who aren't financially free. They make multi-million-dollar, they make $2 million a year, and they spend $2.5 million a year. And that's a lot of people. That's a lot of the wealthy. My goal is I don't give a shit how much I'm making as long as I can travel when I want to travel, have the experiences that I want to experience, and provide for me and my family and make them very comfortable. And if that means only making $100,000 to $150,000 a year, so be it.
Dude, that's a lot of money.
No, yeah.
That's the thing is I actually went and sat down a while ago and kind of wrote out what's my baseline? Like, what do I need to make in order to not worry about money? And then what is my baseline of I feel like I'm pretty much balling, I'm spending a few $100 on clothes a month. I'm spending a few $1,000 a month on food, I'm paying a few $1,000 on rent and all that stuff, and it basically equaled $100,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, holy shit, everyone's striving for this $1 million, $10 million, $1 billion, and you think you have to be a millionaire to live this lavish lifestyle. It's like, dude, you don't.
No, not at all.
If you're making $100,000, especially as a single guy, if you're not supporting a family, obviously if you're supporting a family, if you have a family of 4, that's $25,000 for everybody, for every person. But, if you're making $100,000 as a single dude, you're balling. You're making a good living.
Yeah, I definitely want to dive into the financial aspects of things later.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole new can of worms that I'd be very happy to open up based on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going to finish through this.
Yeah, your story.
This introduction is taken.
Yeah, but that's kind of the story of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it gives people a good background and figure out how I've become who I am now. So I ended up going to this place, Slingshot, with you. And so
did I invite you?
Yeah.
Did I kick this off?
I think you did. And it's an American Ninja Warrior place. They have go-karts, they have bowling, they have drinks. It's a fun place.
But so for people who have no idea, so American Ninja Warrior is this TV show where it's basically an obstacle course race, essentially, because you're trying to compete quickly, but it's not like a running race.
The running between obstacles is 5 or 6 steps.
Yeah, exactly. So you're trying to overcome these obstacles. For example, it's a lot of upper body strength, typically.
Mostly
upper body, hanging by things, balance, and then also some jumping. Definitely a lot of core.
Yeah.
But it takes a specific type of athlete to do these types of things.
It takes a functional athlete. That's the difference with athleticism. There's different levels of athleticism. That's why when people are, of course, people ask me, they see I'm fit. They see, I have muscle tone and I work out. And they're like, how much can you bench? I have no idea. because that's not the type of athlete that I am.
Because also benching is not really a functional thing. Like, how often in daily life are you laying down on the ground trying to lift something off of your chest?
Right.
It's not a functional exercise.
I respect the shit out of those guys. I miss it so much. I used to be 200 pounds, and I was all about the gain muscle and lifting weights and all that. And then I realized it wasn't functional. It wasn't good for the ninja sport. And the moment I realized that is when I got the call back from American Ninja Warrior.
So you went to Slingshot and just fell in love and just started diving deep into this stuff.
I dove deeper into it, and then
Were
the
you
guys
doing
told me.
obstacle course races at the time?
Yeah. I'd already started the OCR races.
So like those are like the mud runs and stuff like that.
Savage Race, Spartan Race, Tough Mudder, all that.
So those are the real obstacle course races where you're running a lot, and
obstacles
then there's
are
an obstacle.
much easier in those races than they are at American Ninja Warrior. But you're doing, at the lowest end of the spectrum, 3.2 miles. At the highest end, 100 miles if you want to get too crazy. But the highest I've done is like 15 miles, and I'm actually not signed up yet, but I'm training for a 24-hour race in Iceland this December. But yeah, so but they help each other out. That's why I enjoy doing the multiple sports that I do, because everything supplements either my OCR racing, or it supplements my Ninja Warrior, or it supplements my rock climbing, because it's all grip strength, endurance, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I fell in love with Ninja Warrior, and I'd already been doing the OCR racing at this time, so I'd already fallen into the endurance athlete kind of stuff, but I wasn't trying to excel. I was already top 10 in my age group at most races as a pro. And I was happy with that at the time. So I was still trying to gain weight, get as big and strong as possible, because I wanted people to accept me, because I thought that being strong and having big muscles was the thing.
And that's what you're told, and that's what you think girls want to see.
That's what you're told, and that's why you take pre-workouts and drink way too much protein, and you fucking
just bro the hell out.
Yeah, I was such a bro. But so eventually, those guys tell me, you should apply for the show. It's your first time applying, you're not going to get it. But you should learn the process, It's a long process.
And what is that process? You have to send in a video?
Yeah, you have to make a 2 to 3 minute video, which sounds easy, but when you're making it for, a potential TV show submission tape, it takes a lot of time, a lot of footage. And then you have to fill out just the most absurd form about your life story, and they ask the same, like, give us at least a 1-page answer on this, and fill this out, and it takes a long time.
Because they're trying to sell the show, that's the bottom line. They're trying to find these stories that they can really dig down deep and say, this guy overcame this. Wow, what an inspiring story, John. Let's see how he runs. He fell in the water.
They don't give a shit about your athleticism. They only care about your story.
They're trying to keep you engaged in the show.
Which is why I didn't
care about the athletes.
Right, which is why I didn't get a call back this past season. That's a whole new story. Yeah, so I got the call.
For the first season, you did get a call.
For my first attempt ever, I remember I was drunk at Slingshot. I'm bowling with some friends, and I checked my voicemail, and it's, hey, this is Peter from American Ninja Warrior. Just give me a call back. So I called him back, and he told me I was accepted. I got onto the show, and we all started freaking out. And fast forward, I'm 205 at this time. I was like, fuck, I need to lose some weight, because 155 to 165 is about the weight you want to be for Ninja Warrior.
And that's just because you're having to hold up your actual own body weight. That's something that a lot of people don't consider.
Too. Yeah, you can't. You look at a bodybuilder who's 225 pounds, you're like, that's a strong dude. He is very strong.
But he's getting winded. He's getting winded walking to his car.
He's not able to hold on by the very last digit of his finger, because that's holding up 200 fucking pounds. That's a lot of weight for your little fingertip, no matter who you are. So I tried to lose weight, didn't lose a lot, got down to like 190, 195. Got there, got to the taping. By the way, if anyone here watches the show, it's nothing like that in person. Showed up at 5 p.m. to watch my friends run. My check-in time was 11. So I watched all my friends. 11 p.m., yeah. Got there at 5 p.m., watched my friends go. So adrenaline spiking, up, down, watching friends, waiting, watching friend, waiting. And then 11 o'clock comes around. And 11 o'clock check-in just means you're running sometime after 11. We are now going to fill the competitor area with the 11 o'clock check-in time competitors. So I check in, and I get number 113 out of 115. So I ran at 5:45 a.m.
And so you've been there basically 24 hours, or 12 hours.
Yeah, I hadn't slept. And that's not an excuse. Even if I went in there fresh, I probably would have made the same mistake that I did make. So, oh god. So there's many reasons I'm not on the show. Main reason is wardrobe malfunction. And I'll show. I have the tights in my closet. I'll show you. But if you want to stand out, if you want to get on the show, you have to, of course, stand out somehow via outfit. And so at this time, the NFL Combine was going on, and everyone was talking about the Nike slider pants and the Under Armour pant, the super tight tights. So I got these in the day before the competition.
Like compression tights, essentially. Like
exactly.
Yeah, like girls would wear them, but they're for dudes.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I bought some the day before because I ran out of ideas. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just do that. Bought some the day before. Never tried them on. Put them on and then immediately put shorts on over them. Went to the taping, and then right before they're like, Conor, you're up, it was 5:40 a.m., I stripped those down, take shirt off, and then they're doing all the camera B-roll stuff, and they're filming you and asking you some questions, and you're like pretending to get hyped up, so they film you. And then I walk up to the main, up the main stairs, and I'm about to go. And they have a camera and a Megatron that they're showing you on with so the audience can see you. And I wasn't looking at the Megatron. This is what somebody else told me. But they panned the camera from my feet and slowly they bring it up to show the person. Well, my crotchal region was outlined pretty well. They cut it from the Megatron because of it. So reason one, they probably didn't show
So basically
my run.
just a pure outline.
Yeah.
What color were the tights?
Neon greenish yellow. I'll show you.
Makes sense.
I got them in my closet.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I see.
So I got the first obstacle, which was new. Usually it's just those quick steps, but this time it was steps way further apart. You had to grab on with your hands, then jump to a rope and swing to a platform, and I got that no problem. And then the second obstacle, which I could get 90% of the time, but the one, it's the pipe slider, so you grab onto the pipe, it scoops down, and then it has an up kick. So the whole pipe is sliding on like this roller coaster track almost. And then you let go of the pipe, you throw yourself, you grab a cargo net, and you climb the cargo net to said platform. The one that I train on at the gym I went to at the time didn't have the kick in the bar. It was just a straight down bar. So I'd only trained launching my hips up to go as high as possible so I could clear a lot of distance. But since this kicked you up, you didn't have to do that, but I did. And so I just went straight up in the air. And I'm in the air and I go, oh shit, and I fall into the water. So reason number two, they probably didn't want to show my run. But I started training very heavily, this past year, getting ready for this next American Ninja Warrior season, and I'm way stronger now. I'm a much better ninja athlete than I was my first year. But I didn't get a call back, and that's because, they had 77,000 applicants this year, 70,000 the year I got the call back. And
but I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of people are just the people that are watching the show, dicking around at home, like, oh, I could do that. I'm sure a ton of people are just like that.
Oh, no. A lot of people who, and I'm sure...
And they're not training at any kind of ninja gym.
Right. Once you go to a ninja gym, a lot of people think, and I've brought multiple friends, they said, I thought I'd be better than this. Because they don't understand the fingertips, the running up the warped wall, It's a fucking breeze once you get it, but once you first try it...
Did you do rock climbing before ninja stuff? Or just like, casually, or did you get into it at all?
I did, but I didn't get serious. I got serious about rock climbing and Ninja Warrior at about the same time. Because
Gotcha.
I took a rock climbing class through KSU, so you can see how serious I took college. So I took the class, loved it, had a great time, and then once the class ended, it kind of fizzled out. I'd still go every now and then, kind of have some fun, but I didn't train it. And then once American Ninja Warrior came about, I was like, okay, this will help my grip strength a ton, so I'm going to start training it heavily. And so yeah, that's when I really did the rock climbing, and it all, like I said, it all supplements itself. There was one point in time where I decided to get serious, and that's when I started getting serious about my races, started getting serious about Ninja Warrior, started getting serious about rock climbing, and all those things, because they all help each other out. And just fitness in general. I realized that's when I'm my happiest.
Yeah, definitely, when you're physically fit. And
pushing myself as far as I can go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so...
And you said, recently we were talking, you were saying, you tend to throw up or pass out pretty much, a couple times a week or something?
Usually about once a week.
So for people that are listening and they think they work out hard, they're not working. I mean, for me personally, even when I heard that, I'm like, shit, dude. Like, I'm getting nowhere near that. Like when I'm working out, and like I feel like I do a pretty,
Yeah, no, I'm not taking away from other people who are working out because this is a different type of working out. I train people. The moment I realized that I'm not working out as I should to be a top of the top competitor, because that is my goal. I do want to be my goal right now is best in the world at OCR. And,
which is obstacle course racing for people who don't
Spartan
know.
race, Savage race, Tough Mudders, that stuff. And I'm far away. I'm not close. I'm closer than most. I'm top 10 in the world for my age group in the short course, and then that's because based off the past world championship, but I did that with a cracked rib, so that was But
But the short races, you're really good at the obstacles,
Exactly.
but not as good at the running. So it's like
Exactly.
the running doesn't matter that much because if the obstacles are easy, then anyone can basically do it if they're a good runner.
I can run 3.2 miles very fast. I can't run 15 miles very fast.
Yeah.
And exactly, that's why I don't like Spartan races. The best cross-country runner in the area can show up and win the race because the obstacles, wall,
are easy.
Monkey bars, that kind of stuff. They go to a Savage race, they don't stand a chance. So there's a happy, where I fit in the obstacle.
Gotta be a savage.
Yeah, hashtag savage. But I fall in the obstacle heavy, which is why I'm working a lot more on my running. I do at least 1 or 2 10-mile runs a week. But once I started, I got my own coach, who was she was in the top 3 females in the world for OCR races, and that's when I started throwing up at workouts. That's when I started passing out.
What are the kind of things that are making you throw up? Like, what kind of workouts are you doing?
What made me throw up the most was sprints. Sprints made me throw up the most. Passing out, also sprints. But I wasn't, being in the gym for 3.5 hours, doing nonstop high-intensity interval training, because before I was going to the gym, 3 sets of 10 on bench. I would do 3 sets of cable flies for 10, and then I would do some push-ups, and I don't know, I'll do the treadmill for a mile. Sure, yeah, that'll get some running under my belt, and I guess I did chest. I need to do some triceps. I'll do some tricep pull-down. That's how I went to the gym.
Yeah, no written plan.
No written plan.
No intensity, just kind of like at your leisure, just doing some
sets. It was a good workout. I'd be sore the next day.
I worked out with you for sure. Like it wasn't like you weren't lifting heavy and you weren't, doing anything, intense, but
I stayed in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's what I did. That's what a lot of people do with their workouts. They stay in their comfort zone. But once you're accountable, I think accountability is one of the largest issues we have in the society, is that we're not accountable to other people, or even we're not even accountable to ourselves. When I started being accountable to my coach, I had Coach April, who, look her up, April D. She is a badass. And
she's a top 3 in the world.
She was. I'm not sure if she still is. Amelia Boone and a few other girls have started killing it. And but she does the world's toughest 24-hour races, that kind of stuff. And so she started training me and sending me workouts. And so the typical workout before that, I'd be like, okay, that was a solid workout. I feel good. That point was probably about 15% of what these workouts were that she was giving me.
Wow.
By 80%, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. There were a few times where I had to either stay at the gym for another hour before I felt like I could drive again. And all that, because she knew my goal. She knew I was trying to get some podiums. I was trying to get up there.
And so these types of workouts, you're saying it's high-intensity interval training.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know what that is, it's essentially like
heart rate.
Your heart rate is super elevated for how long would you go with that high intensity?
Depends on the workout.
So maybe 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes.
Obviously, we're going to have a little bit of a bigger rest in between. But, it's still technically, I consider high-intensity interval training when I still have to do a 1.5-mile run at tempo pace directly into burpee broad jumps for a minute and a half, So
essentially the philosophy behind it is you elevate your heart rate to a really high level and have a short interval where you rest, then go right back into that high intensity.
Yep.
So like sprint, rest for 30 seconds to a minute or whatever, sprint again, or doing box jumps really intense, as many as you can for a minute, stop. And I was actually introduced to that from what's the workout with Sean T? Insanity.
Oh yeah,
The whole like P90X Insanity kind of thing, and I did Insanity when I was in high school. So
yeah, a lot of people get into weight training in hopes to lose weight, when in reality, if you want to lose weight, in my eyes, of course, anyone can look up an article to prove me wrong here. We all have different opinions. We all have different bodies. We all react differently. But for me personally, to lose weight, my heart rate has to stay up. I can't go to the gym and I can do 3 sets of this with a 1 minute rest in between what I was doing before to gain weight. And I'm going to either gain weight or maintain. To lose weight, that heart rate has to stay elevated. And
also, obviously, diet plays a large factor in that as well.
Huge factor.
Calories in, calories out,
Diet is... I think we should do a whole entire different podcast on that one day.
Yeah, we definitely could.
I'll talk about that for
We
sure.
definitely need to have some more podcasts with Conor Peterson. I feel like we could have like a whole series of podcasts.
Yeah, I'm starting. We started hitting little subjects, and I'm like, fuck, I could talk about that for an hour.
Literally. Like you said, you have so many passions.
Yeah, God, I know. That's my parents hate it. Because my dad wants me to have 100% into this OCR thing, because he's like, you could be the best in the world if you put all of your work into just that.
And what kind of reward is there for being number 1 in the world in OCR?
Money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not going to be a multimillionaire, but the top in the world right now, Ryan Atkins, Hunter McIntyre, those guys, they're I think Ryan made 6 figures last year.
Wow.
Just off race winnings.
Wow.
And his girlfriend, his girlfriend's not Amelia Boone. Who's his girlfriend? But they both won world championships, so they both went home with like 40 grand.
Wow.
Yeah, for that household, it's nuts. That's obviously not why I'm doing it, though. There wasn't any money in it at all when I started doing it. There was no OCR world championship. That didn't exist. And I've found a new love for, when I, this is going to sound insane, but when I throw up or if I pass out during a workout, that next day I'm going to be like, hell yeah. I have this new passion for pushing myself to the absolute limit, to just know what am I capable of and how can I make it better. And if I throw up or pass out and I compare that to the last time I did, and typically it's at a new level, I'm like, okay, that's, I'm doing a much better job now. And that's what I live for. That and just new experiences, because like I was saying, my dad, he wants me to do this OCR full time, but I now enjoy a sport called tricking, and I've gotten into that, which you've seen the videos and Ninja Quest with the flips, and it's like street gymnastics, I guess you could call it, because typical gymnastics is you're on one axis, tricking, you're going sideways and off axis and all this stuff. So I've enjoyed doing that, and since I've been doing that, I've met a lot of stunt people. Well, my dream job as a child was a stuntman, and so now I'm working on my stunt reel so I can get my first stuntman gig. And
so if you know any stuntman hookups, hit up Conor Peterson.
And then I can give you the hookups, because I'm not a stuntman yet. But I know.
No, but I'm saying if anyone listening has the hookups and they need a stuntman.
Oh yes,
for Conor Peterson,
exactly.
Hit him up, because he's actually very talented.
Well, thank you. I working on it, working on the reel. But yeah. So I have that passion. I'm hopefully taking you skydiving this Sunday. That's another new passion of mine. Is
skydiving.
I just want to have as many experiences under my belt as possible, but I still want to excel at one thing. I want to at one point be the best in the world at something, and that's an issue,
Yeah.
Yeah, because the people who are the best in the world put all of their time into it, and I'm not willing to take away other life experiences for that.
Yeah.
So that's the struggle that I'm having with nowadays. And do I think I'll ever take away so I can be best in the world? I don't think so. I'm just going to keep working at it. And if it happens, great. If not, then as long as I keep pushing my own limit, then I'm going to be happy.
Yeah. I think that, being the best in the world obviously takes, a huge commitment. But I believe that you can have some other things that are part of your focus as well.
Yeah, there's like I was saying before, be good 90% of the time, and and so those people who are the best in the world, like Ryan Atkins, for example, he's best in the world for multiple different races, and I'll look on his Instagram and he'll be drinking a beer with a buddy. He'll go on a hike and have a few beers and And so he still knows how to live, you know? He's not taking away, because there are these other races, and I'll finish a race and you get free beer tickets. And what I'd like to do after races, especially if I podium or if I get like top whatever, and the time I won money, I got, especially, I like to get shit-faced after. Because you know what? Leading up to a race, I'm training my ass off. I'm doing what I'm
it's the reward.
Yeah. And so they give you free beer tickets. I get shit-faced. And there are those people who are like, nah, man, it doesn't fit my diet. I'm going keto right now. I can't have any beer. I'm like, dude, like you gotta live a little. Like there's more.
It's all about the balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yes.
I think that's a quote from Alexander Hamilton, I believe.
That.
And so it's like you gotta take everything in moderation. You can't be drinking beer every day, but you also can't be in moderation all the time. You've got to live a little bit. And like for example, today I was pissed off, and I was I'm doing this keto diet, and I was just like craving some stuff.
Of course you're pissed off because you're doing a keto diet. Jesus, I tried that for 2 months, and my headache didn't go away for 2 months.
Well, luckily I haven't been suffering the headaches, but today I was just like, dude, I was at work and there were some cookies. I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna eat some cookies, man. So I had a bag of cookies, and it was amazing. Like,
yes,
and so it's like, dude, yes, I have my cheat days, and on my cheat days I completely go crazy, but today
if
was
you're gonna
not
cheat, you better fucking do it well. That's my outlook.
Exactly.
If I'm gonna cheat on a cheat meal or something like that, I'm not gonna have 2 cookies. No, I'm gonna eat a gallon of ice cream, a pack of cookies. I have cheat days.
Yeah, for sure.
Once
and actually,
the floodgates are opened, it's fucking done.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. It's like, if I'm gonna cheat, I'm going to cheat.
Yeah, and the key there
there's
is
a beauty in that.
The key is not to regret it later on. If you find yourself that you've been doing it too frequently, then don't regret it, but learn from it, But, for example, earlier this week I decided I'm going to do an all juicing diet except for dinner for my post-workout. I decided to cancel that yesterday because I signed up for a race this weekend. And so I canceled it, and I went, okay, cool. I'm not doing that anymore. So I went and got some Halo Top ice cream, ate to the bottom of the thing of ice cream, finished that whole thing off. It just ate my whole entire pantry, because and that's what I did. And do I regret it? No, I really don't. Where most people would be like, I can't believe it. Not only did I change my diet, but I cheated. I was like, you know what? It
was for a reason, though. You signed up for a race.
Yeah, if I was juicing right before the race, I felt like death anyways. But yeah. So I guess people now see the jump in athleticism from high school, being the 135 skater kid who never lifted a weight in his life, and then started working out, started realizing that functional strength was the most fun, so rock climbing, American Ninja Warrior, OCR racing, and now that's where I fall now, is that I'm trying to excel at those, and because it's just a great way to stay in shape. But that was my physical change. My mental change didn't really take place, honestly, and part of me hates to say that this was the reason, but it really was a breakup that took place in December. And Kate, I think you met her. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Well, it doesn't matter. She's a great human being.
If she listens to this podcast, cool.
Yeah, more listeners, hell yeah.
That's my philosophy on it, is kind of like, there's a lot of people that, some things that I might say on this podcast, I wouldn't necessarily want everyone to hear. But then the other mentality that I have is like, if this person is going to take the time to listen all the way through this part of the podcast.
True.
And,
they're open-minded enough to not take offense.
Exactly. Like for example, some adults that follow me on Facebook that have, been influential in my past or whatever. And, I don't necessarily want, when I'm around them, I'm not going to say fuck, or I'm not going to talk about some of the things I've done, or talk about doing drugs or drinking or any of that stuff. But it's like, if they actually kind of are open-minded enough to take an interest in what I'm putting out there in my content, and actually hearing it straight from me, and kind of hearing this unfiltered side of me, including my parents too. A lot of stuff that I'm saying on this podcast, my parents don't typically hear from me. Yeah. But I know my mom especially is listening to these podcasts, and I'm at the point where,
hey, Mom. How you doing?
Yeah, it's like I kind of at that point where I'm cool with it. And if your ex is listening to this, then cool. Like, I'm glad that still is cool enough
She
with
played
you
her
that-
role in my life, and that role is a very important role in my life. And
Yeah.
a little backstory there is this was a girl that I was and I don't use this term lightly, in love with since
Wow.
8th grade.
Yeah, I met her, yeah.
Yeah, and so 8th grade.
Sorry, I was thinking of a different girl at first. I was like, but now I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so 8th grade, and just absolutely every single girl I dated in between, because she considered me her best friend, and vice versa. I consider her my best friend at the time, and any girl that I dated, I compared to her. And at any point, at any time I was dating any of those girls, if she came up to me and said, "Hey, I want to date you now," I would have easily dropped the name and then dated her. And so we finally ended up dating, and everything was phenomenal. We dated for 8 months. Talked for a couple months before that because it was a big step for us because we had been best friends since 8th grade, 8th, 9th grade-ish. And
a lot of girls especially are very worried about losing that best friend status.
Right.
And so they don't ever want to make that jump, kind of stuck in the friend zone kind of deal.
Oh, I was so stuck. And so once we started dating, my high school freaked out everyone because everyone had been wanting that to happen or had seen, everyone knew, including her. And long story short, perfect relationship. Went to Jamaica together and everything. And she told me that after my sister's wedding, I could see us getting married and everything. So that was a huge step. And I was like, holy shit, this is that's exactly what I wanted. And eventually, 3 or 4 weeks after that conversation, she said she doesn't know. Switch went off, and she said that's something that I struggle with when I'm dating someone. If I feel it's about to get serious, I switch a switch. Flip a switch. There we go. Fuck. And
there's actually a term for doing that when you switch the first letter. It's called a spoonerism.
Spoonerism. I like that.
Yeah.
And I knew that was an issue she had because I'd seen a lot of relationships she'd gone through, but she assured me that it was different. But it wasn't. That's fine. And she's just like, there's nothing I can do about it, but the feelings are gone. And so we broke things off, and that destroyed me. I was fucked up for a while, a couple months, and I have no problem. I think guys need to, in today's society, vulnerability is seen as a weakness when in reality it should be seen as a strength. I was crying my fucking eyes out because I thought I had it in the bag. This girl, it was a perfect fucking story, a love story, a high school love, all that kind of shit, all that cute cliche shit. But the ending of that relationship was the ending of me trying to be somebody else so I was accepted by other people. And that was huge. Once that ended, I started doing things on my own. I got my own 1-bedroom apartment. I started only doing things if I wanted to do them. And I didn't care what other people thought. I wasn't ever trying to impress people. I wasn't trying to, push my beliefs. I was just doing me for the first time ever. And it's been it was just a huge life shift. I decided to take up these new daily habits that have been life-changing. And honestly, I owe a lot of that to Ashlyn Showalter, who was in your previous podcast.
Yeah, episode 2.
Yeah, she recommended this book, which is actually right there, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And I decided I'm going to start reading because, I need to start reading instead. So I read that book, and that was a life changer for me. And so what kick-started this whole mind shift was that breakup, but I'm not going to give all of the credit to that because it took a lot of effort and a lot of other events occurring.
Yeah, but that was the catalyst.
Yeah, that was the trigger. That was the pull of the trigger that kick-started that. And so I started these new daily habits, and so for example, you talked about earlier wanting to get into my morning ritual, and
yeah, because we're sitting in your apartment. And you have your yoga mat out for meditation, I'm assuming, and probably stretching.
Yeah.
And you've got, we've got some essential oils going. It was kind of funny because I actually came to your apartment for the first time a couple of days ago, and I was like, damn, Connor, actually has a lot, like you were saying kind of before, you're kind of in this like bro mentality of like, let's get huge, let's lift. And
Yeah.
like that, I kind of met you during that phase. And so I kind of had like a little bit of that view towards,
of course.
that kind of bro mentality. And I feel like now you've kind of evolved more a little bit towards like the hippie-ish kind of mentality a little bit. Yeah, but that's cool,
Yeah.
And like for example, I just went in your bathroom and like you had some aspirations for the day, like
Oh yeah, my daily
smile at people, stuff like that.
compliment a stranger,
Yeah,
read 10
compliment a
pages of
stranger.
a personal development book. Yeah, so
That's really cool, man.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and say that every single day I get all that stuff done. I don't. There's multiple days where 1, 2, 3 things that I've dedicated myself to that doesn't happen. And that's part of my 90%, 10%, failure better become an option. Because if you take away the potential for failure, then you take away the potential for success. So my daily habits, to name a few of them, like I wake up before I have to go to work. That's one of my biggest, is I wake up at least an hour before I have to leave. So I wake up, and nowadays, oftentimes that means working on my coaching business, because I started up a mycoachconnor.com kind of thing. And,
If you need a personal trainer, hit it up.
Hit me up, but there's already a wait list. But go ahead, get on that wait list. So I started doing that, so I'll wake up and I'll give everyone their workouts, because I do it day by day.
It's a virtual coach thing, right?
Yeah. Unless you're in the area and you happen to have I would love to coach people in person, but everyone goes to different gyms and everything. But so I wake up and I do that, or if I've already done that the night before, or if I wake up super early, which sometimes I decide to wake up at 5:36, I go and hike. I go for a morning hike at Sweat Mountain. I watch the sunrise, which now with the daylight savings change screwed me. But I was doing that for a while, where I'd go up every single morning. I probably did that for about a month and a half or 2 months. Just every single morning I woke up and I went for a hike, and I wore my headlamp, went on the hike, went to the peak of the mountain, and watched the sunrise and cooked breakfast with my little pocket stove. Yeah, it was awesome. And so today I went on that same morning hike, and instead, I didn't have any of the camp food, so I didn't eat breakfast. I just went there and read a book. Obviously not a whole book, but I read some at the top of the mountain. And so that's one of the biggest changes I made, or I'd say one of the more beneficial ones is if you just wake up and instantly, if you work an 8 to 4 like I do, and you wake up you wake up with enough time to get ready and go to work, you're starting your day going, oh God, okay, so I gotta get ready and make breakfast, and okay, now I go to work, now I'm gonna either hate my life or even just, I enjoy my work, but that's not how I want to start my day. I want it to be a blip of my day, and then the beginning of my day starts off with me doing whatever I want to do. And then I go to work, and then I end the day doing what I want to do. And so that's one life change that I made. I also compliment a stranger every day. Find a stranger, it's easy, compliment them, say nice hair, say, oh, I like that t-shirt. Something simple that's so easy to do that people don't do anymore. When someone walks past you, smile at them.
And if there's I think the biggest thing too is if you can see that someone has genuinely put time and effort into like composing an outfit, they're gonna take great compliment in you complimenting whatever they're wearing. Like, for example, I love shoes, so like if people are wearing some cool shoes, like I have no hesitation in saying like, dude, those are some awesome shoes.
You know how many people do though? And including myself not that long ago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't compliment someone, and to this day I'm not even sure why. Because
it's free and it takes next to no time.
Maybe I was scared of starting a conversation. I wasn't comfortable conversing with other human beings, or so now and I see this all the time. If you're walking on a sidewalk and it's just you and one other person, you're walking opposite directions, you're about to cross paths, but you can see each other pretty far away. Most of the time, one of the people, if not both, are going to pull out their phone and look at nothing. Or they're going to
talk on the phone.
I've personally pretended to be on the phone when a stranger was walking past me, so I didn't have to potentially look at them. That's absurd. And so I may compliment a stranger, and I started doing journal entries on it.
So what do you do now if you pass somebody?
I look at them, I smile, I wave. I hope you're having a good day, or see a t-shirt. I find something to compliment on them. If I can't find something to compliment on them, I'll look at them, I'll smile, and then I'll just continue looking forward.
Yeah, man. That's a great way of looking at things.
I'll continue being human instead of trying to just numb myself and look at my cell phone and
pretend like we don't exist.
Instead of just ignoring. Yeah. That's a big problem with society is everyone feels ignored, which is why they constantly have this desire to push themselves to feel accepted, is because most of the time we're ignoring other people. If you stop ignoring people, you start acknowledging that not only do other people exist, but they have good ideas. They look good if they do something new, and they appreciate other people's appreciation. That's huge. If we can start appreciating other people's appreciation and appreciate other people because of it, which I know a lot of appreciation there, but if we can start to do that, then the desire, the urge to feel like, oh, I need to be accepted won't be there because we'll all already feel accepted. Mm. And I've learned that now that I've started complimenting. The other day, I'm at Copper Coin, the coffee shop right down there, and some like you said, some guy had some dope ass shoes. And I was like, dude, those are some fucking sweet shoes. And I said, and if you say it genuinely, if you're
like, hey, those are cool shoes, man.
Yeah,
it's gonna be awkward.
Yeah, no. If
you're like, dude, those are some sick shoes.
Yeah, no. Be genuine about it. If you're this compliment a stranger thing, it might feel uncomfortable at first. I'll tell you about the first time I decided to do it. The first day I chose to do it, it was uncomfortable. It will become natural. It will become genuine. And if you genuinely say it, it will strike up a conversation, and you will be amazed. Don't get me wrong. There are going to be those people who go, thanks. And then you just let that slide. You say, you know what? They're going to think about that later and either appreciate it or they're not an appreciative person.
And a lot of times, especially with girls, like they think you're trying to hit on them.
That's a huge issue.
But dude, if you just kind of like let it go, like if you don't care about what they're, because they're so used to getting catcalled and having dudes have all these ulterior motives. But if you legitimately are like, those are some cool shoes, or like, I really like your shirt, or I really like your purse, or something like that, like. Yeah.
And you can compliment a woman's beauty too without hitting on them. Not that long ago, I was at a concert. And there was this, she was just, just a girl that caught my eye, and she was beautiful. And I told her as I was leaving, because me and my friend decided to leave early towards the end of the last show, and I just pulled her aside and said, by the way, you're beautiful, and I hope you have a great night. And I walked away, because I don't have that other motive to try to get her number and all that kind of stuff. I could have, but time, place, and it just, I just wanted to let her know that and be on my way. And that I can only hope that made her day, that made her happy. If not, so what? But I got my compliment out of the day, and it makes you feel really good. It made me feel great. I was like, I wanted to let her know that, and now she does. So now, even.
Now she knows. She's beautiful. The record has been set straight.
Yeah, exactly. And so, in case you didn't know. So start complimenting strangers, and I had this girl at Walmart. It was towards the end of the day. And I was like, fuck, I haven't complimented a stranger yet today. And so this girl was checking me out at Walmart, the checkout line.
Checking you out?
Yeah, that's why I made certain show in the checkout line. She's doing the checkout line thing, and I see a tattoo on her arm. I look at it, and it's like this pinup girl, and I was like, that's a really cool tattoo. She goes, oh, thank you, and just opened up. She opened the floodgate. She wanted somebody to talk to. She starts telling me about her daughter and how her daughter had this drawing, and that's her next tattoo, and she doesn't know a good artist. Do I know an artist? No, I don't. But I know some people. Maybe we can get some contacts, and we're talking. Checkout finished 5 minutes ago. There's no one behind me, and we're just sitting there talking, having a great time. Because I said, hey, I like your tattoo. That's a cool tattoo.
You acknowledge that she was a human being rather than just a robot working the cashier.
Right, and the eyes lit up. And I remember when I was about to compliment her and seeing, I was like, this is not going to go well. She's down. She's just looking down and beep, bag, beep, bag. And I complimented the tattoo and looked up like shock, like as if I should see her as a robot and vice versa.
Yeah, it is quite weird when you're at, like for example, when I'm at the grocery store, I always try to do the same thing and have acknowledge, like, hey, man, how many hours you got left? I know it's a drag. Just even, just acknowledging that, like, yo, bro, I'm on the same level as you, man. Like, I sympathize with it.
Well, see, the sympathize is, this is something I just listened to, and it's from The Power of Vulnerability by Brene Brown. And it's really, and I loved this quote, and it's the difference between sympathizing and empathizing with people. Sympathizing means, oh, poor you, I feel sorry for you. People don't want to hear that. Empathizing means, man, I understand. I've been there. It happens. That's different than, so what she said was empathizing is getting a rope, throwing it down in the hole, crawling down in the hole and telling them, because they're in the hole, hey, listen, like I've been here too. Look, here's a rope, and so you make your way out. I'm here with you though, and there's a way out. But I understand to a fault. Of course, I don't understand the exact situation, but I understand the feelings because we all have the same core set of feelings: happiness, sadness, all that. And sympathizing is standing at the top of the hole, going, "Oh, that sucks, man. Sorry to hear that." No one wants to hear that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's like easy for you to say you're up there.
Right. And once you start to empathize with someone, that was something that really hit home with me. Is that the people that told me, when I was, in my, I guess, little emo depression phase, when someone said, "Oh man, I feel so bad for you," that doesn't help at all. But if someone goes, "Dude, I get it. Like, it happens. Here's what I did. Here's what you can do, and I'm here for you, and I understand." That's what helps.
Yeah.
And so doing something as simple as complimenting someone, or just talking and acknowledging that somebody else is human is enough to not even get down to that hole, but just acknowledge that there's another human being in existence, which a lot of people don't even do. And so that is another daily habit that I decided to do. Read 10 pages of a personal development book. I got that from the Slide Edge. It says that in there. Just read 10 pages a day. Oftentimes you find yourself reading 30, 40 pages because you get sucked in. And there's so many days where I'm like, dude, I don't want to read today. I'm tired. I've just killed my workout. I just want to go to sleep. All right, fuck it. I'm going to read my 10 pages. And I read my 10, sometimes turns into 15, sometimes 20. And I've read quite a few books now. And I mean, I didn't start reading up until last December, and I've gone through quite a lot of books. And a lot more because of that 10 pages a day principle. And the knowledge that I've learned from those 10 pages a day is insane.
It's like the compound effect. It's like 10
Exactly.
pages doesn't seem like that much. It's like, how am I ever going to finish a book? But in a week, that's 70 pages. In 2 weeks, it's 140 pages. It's probably almost the whole book.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the year, based on the average mean of a personal development book, it's about a dozen. You can finish about one personal development self-help book once every single month. And I'm not saying, the self-help books, a lot of people hear that and they think, I don't need help. I'm happy with who I am. And you can be, I'm very happy with who I am, but I'm also willing to make myself better. If you think you're perfect, then that's an issue. Because I know I'm not perfect.
Never satisfied.
Exactly.
Trying to always strive to be a better version of yourself.
Don't settle. Settling is dangerous. And I've learned that I don't want to settle, I want to excel.
Yeah.
And so I started reading the personal, and one of the biggest, I'd say actually the biggest change I've made in my life was meditation. I know, weird, right?
Crazy, because actually I've had a couple podcasts where we've talked a lot about meditation.
Really?
The one with Ashlyn, we talked about it a lot, and then my friend Owen, too. My friend, I haven't released it yet, but it'll be out soon.
Okay.
And I think you'd really like Owen's podcast because we talk a ton about a lot of the same kind of stuff. Not as much fitness, but business, reading books, meditation, all that kind of stuff. So when you're meditating, what kind of meditation do you do?
The meditation that I mostly do is the awareness of breath meditation, because I am naturally a hyperactive, my thoughts come in fast, and I'm always moving. I have trouble sitting still. The fact that I've been in this chair for this long is insane.
Yeah, but you're kind of focused in.
So I'm hyperactive on what we're talking about.
Yeah. Did you ever get, sorry, this is totally random, but did you ever get diagnosed with ADD or anything?
No, I'm sure if I went to, I would have.
Same here.
But
that was the same thing with Owen. Like all of his teachers and stuff, told his mom to go to the doctor, and she's like, no, honey, we're good. You're not taking any medicine. You're great. Yeah,
good how you are. And, that's people acting like that's a, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people who have true ADD and true ADHD, but I also think there's a lot of people who take the medications for ADD and ADHD when in reality it's just who they are, and they should find out a way to make it a positive of who they are instead of taking medication to try to dumb down something that society has told them is a negative. My meditation focuses on breathing and thought awareness. Typically, there's multiple types of meditation. I'm reading a book right now called Real Happiness, and it's a 4-week guide to meditation. It tells you about walking meditation and breathing, and then there's hearing. There's lots of different meditations based off, different sensory types. And but
so when you hear the word meditation, what is like the first thing that comes to mind? Like, how would you describe meditation to somebody?
Cleaning out the trash. That's exactly what it is for me, because day to day I have negative thoughts, as does everybody else. And so my meditation typically takes place at night, but I find myself doing it all the time so I'll break down my typical night of meditation and how that affects my life in the long term. I sit down in that little yoga area you see over there with my little, it looks crunchy as can be.
Definitely.
It's got a yoga mat candle. So I sit there at night before bed, sometimes before dinner, just whenever I feel it's right, and sit cross-legged, back straight, and I focus on my breathing. That's it. My only thoughts should be inhale, exhale. Now, of course, that's not what happens. Sitting still in silence and focusing on your breath is fucking hard. It's a brain workout. You're going to have thoughts. They're going to come in. And it's so hard to explain
it's like a bicep curl for your brain.
Yeah, it's hard to explain the process, because for the first week, maybe the first day, maybe the first month, depending on who you are and how your brain is set, you're going to sit there thinking the whole time, this is dumb. Or you're going to think, oh my God, why did she leave me? What if I did this? What if I did that? Okay, I shouldn't be thinking about that right now. I need to be focusing on my breath. Inhale, exhale. But seriously, what the fuck? Why did she do? And that's going to happen. It's totally going to happen. And it happened. That was taken from my personal experience, that explanation right there. And to this day, I sit there and you think about work, but you learn to focus on the breath, and you're going to inhale. And one thing that I personally do is I look at thoughts as I'm looking as if it was traffic. I'm inhaling and I'm exhaling and I'm focusing. My only thought is inhale, exhale. And then a thought comes in, and I think of it like a bus or a car. It's just passing through. I inhale, the thought goes through. I acknowledge that the thought exists. I don't try to fight it. And then I think to myself, this isn't productive right now. This has no purpose right now. There's nothing I can do right now to change it. It's either part of the past that has already happened or part of a future that has not happened yet that I have no control over. So if I live perfectly right now, sitting in my spot, focusing on my breath, that thought has no place right now. And then I exhale and it's gone.
That's a beautiful way of looking at it, man.
It's how that is translated throughout my life. And so I do that for at least 10 minutes a night. And I found myself falling into 30 minutes before. And I found myself ending it at 5 minutes because I feel like I've cleaned out the trash. Because it was a pretty good day. And so what happens is, me as a person, I've always been somewhat, people would call me an optimistic person, but that's because I'm actually pessimistic, and I always try to find the opposite, and that's what I try to portray. But I've always been pretty pessimistic and, focusing on the negatives, and then I let that unfold. It always unfolds big time. You start thinking, what if this? What if I did that? What if they did this? What would I say if that happened? And then it gets you mad, and you say, oh no, I wouldn't do that. Fuck that, I would do. But now, that original thought that is the seed that makes all that shit just explode, I can just inhale and I have that thought go in my head, and I'm just driving in my car and say I think of something like, oh, at work, what if I did this to get that sale? And then I go, you know what? I'm living in the now. It's part of a past I can't fix, and now it has a future. And is the thought I'm thinking of right now potentially constructive towards that future? No, it's not. So I exhale and I let that shit go. And that frees my mind up for a positive thought, for me to appreciate something, for me to be grateful about something.
Let that shit go, man.
Just let it go. And that's something I struggled with.
That's something that everyone needs to learn.
And meditation is what made me learn that. Everyone knows they should just let it go, man. Just let it go. Well, you need to have a practice for it. That's like, okay, so be grateful. You should have a practice for being grateful. Every single morning I have a whiteboard by my front door, and I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for before I leave for work. And that's because I have a practice for actually being grateful, which in terms helps me be more grateful throughout life. If you just say, I know I should be more grateful, I know I should just let things go. Well, what are you doing to practice that? Because if you're not doing anything to practice it, then you're going to make it a lot harder for you to become or for you to gain that characteristic. So meditation
It's like saying I need to get stronger, but not actually working out.
Right. Exactly the point. We as a society know that if you want something to physically change in you, being fitness and health, you're going to have to make sacrifices with your diet and with exercise. Same goes with your brain and your daily habits. You're going to have to make sacrifices to your daily habits. You might have to stop watching that Netflix series if you want to learn how to program. Or if you want to learn how to play piano, you might have to stop playing video games so much. Cut out the bad habits, fill it with some habits of things that you want to end up doing, and you might find yourself surprised at how you actually enjoy the process more than you enjoy numbing yourself. And you also have to expect to fail a lot. Make failure a weekly thing. I fail all the time. These daily habits that I just explained, like I said, lots of times it doesn't happen. I don't read 10 pages. I come home and I fall asleep. But that's because I have something to fail at. Does anyone ever think, oh, I failed at not watching the new episode of whatever? No, because that's not something that they're doing to make themselves a better human, like a better version of themselves. They're numbing their mind. My ex, we lived in a house with a bunch of roommates that I was friends with throughout high school, and they would come home and they would watch this show about little people. And I'm going to say midgets, even though I know that's the derogatory. Fuck it. And it's just midgets living life like humans.
Is it Little People Big World or whatever?
It was maybe, I don't know.
But they sat there for hours watching life about midgets.
And they would talk about the drama within it, and I'm like, don't get me wrong, 90% of the time do good, 10% of the time do whatever the fuck you want. But this wasn't 10% of the time. This was when they're off work. That's what they did. They watched that or The Bachelor. We all have our vices, but don't make those your daily habits.
Yeah.
Make those. I love my show Silicon Valley. I love watching that show. It's a great show. And so once a week, I sit down, I watch TV, and I go, you know what? This is one of my things. This is one of my 10%s where, it's just something funny, and it's not adding value to who I want to be, but I enjoy this. And everyone should make time for that. And it makes you appreciate that time way more when most of the time you're working at bettering yourself, and you're going to appreciate that so much more.
Definitely.
So start constructing positive habits in your life. If you want to learn something, start. That's the biggest. Investing. Start. Download Robinhood. Put $15 in it. Find 3 stocks under $10, and don't even research them. Fuck it. Throw the money in. It's $15. Who cares, right? It's only $15. And you'll find yourself checking it. Wonder how my stock's doing. Oh, they had a new earnings report come out? What does that even mean? You might look that up. Next thing you know, you're super interested. Oh, there's this partner company, and oh wow, this. Next thing you know, you're investing a good bit of your money, and that's how you want to start playing piano. Okay, go purchase a piano or find a friend with a piano and just try. Just look up a YouTube video and look up how to for beginner and dedicate 1 hour to it. And you might surprise yourself on how much fun and how much you actually enjoy seeing progression instead of sitting on a couch and numbing your mind.
Yeah,
so
very true.
That's the biggest change that I've had in my life.
That's amazing, man. One thing that to kind of touch on what you were saying with like the Little People show and all that, I've heard that, I'm probably butchering this quote if it's a quote, but it's like it's like the essential idea is like basic people consume their lives with other people's matters, and they talk about and gossip about other people, and the elevated people or the intelligent people or whatever. And I'm not saying I'm this, because I definitely talk about other people all the time, but people of a higher statute or caliber, they don't worry or consider themselves with other people's matters. They discuss ideas and possibilities and things that they can create rather than the matters of others.
Well, that loops around to before when when you're thinking about other people's matters, you're talking about other people. How is that constructing the person that you want to be? Talking about them, watching them. How is that making you a better version of yourself? What is that adding to your life? Well, all you're doing is either judging others or praising others, which is also a very dangerous habit, is to praise others when. So that's, we have a society that, especially when it comes to praising others, all we see is the success. We don't see all the work that was put into it. We have Instagram and Facebook, and we see all these amazing business people or these athletes and all this stuff, and all we see is the crazy, cool shit that they do. And so if we can't start doing it and immediately be that good or start doing that stuff, and we start failing just like they did in the beginning, but we don't see that, so we don't think that even exists. Yeah, once you compare yourself to other people and you start talking about them, it's not constructive. It's destructive, if anything.
And some people could even, some people might even look at me, and I'm, not the most amazing person in the world or whatever. They're like, oh my gosh,
you are,
Andrew.
I think you're the most amazing person.
But some people will look at me and they say, oh my gosh, Andrew's got it all together. He's making a podcast. He's doing all this stuff. And it's like, you don't really see all this behind the scenes work that I've had to do for this podcast. I love working out and all this stuff, but for the week before I launched the podcast, I actually didn't work out that whole week because all my free time was dedicated to editing and getting these podcasts together so that I could launch them, and working out the album artwork and getting the guests together and actually doing the podcasts and interviewing people and setting up the times and figuring out my schedule. And, you don't see all that behind the scenes work. You just see, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I should start a podcast. And you should. I love podcasting, and I know Conor actually is starting a podcast.
Yep, I sure am. Me and Alex.
Yeah, and it's like people see all that, and they're like, "Wow, that's so cool," but they don't see all the hard work and the sacrifices that I've made. And obviously, I'm not starving, and I haven't made all these crazy sacrifices in my life, but I have. It's like all my free time for the past couple weeks has been really, really dedicated to this. To this project.
But you decided to take away from one constructive habit to add to another constructive habit.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Why.
Where a lot of people take away from a constructive habit, they stop working out because, the new Bachelor season just started. And
the way that you said that was awesome.
Yeah, and so I recently posted a video to my Instagram of me eating shit doing a tricking line. Yeah. And I put on there, for every time you see me posting something of me landing something cool, there's at least 1,000 of these. Skateboarding is one of those things. All the sports, all that kind of stuff where you see
the highlight reel for a reason.
Exactly. And now we all have our own personal highlight reel. But we have forgotten as a society that that's what it is, a highlight reel. And some people think the highlights of their day are eating food. And that's it. Just take pictures of food. And so we constantly have...
So true, dude. The Instagram is full of food.
We constantly have a way of distracting ourselves from our own lives and going... Because this is one thing that I've realized. I'll sit... every now and then I still fall into a hole, and I'll sit on exactly where you are on my couch, and I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I see someone posting a photo of them sitting on a beach, and I go, oh man, it looks fucking sweet in Laguna, California right now. And then I'm like, you know what? A couple months ago when I was looking for an apartment at my parents' house, I'd be looking at apartments right now. And I would see this apartment and I would go, man, it'd be fucking sweet to have that apartment right now. But now that I'm here, I'm not appreciating this. All I'm thinking of, man, it'd be so much better to be X right now, to be doing X right now, instead of going, hey, this is pretty fucking sweet. Everything I got going for me right now is amazing. And people need to start doing that. Especially, because... you might think you have it tough, and I don't claim to be perfect. There are plenty of times where I have my own little self-pity parties where I'm like, oh man, today sucks. I've had a horrible day, but man, we have it good. If you're listening to this podcast on your iPhone in your car, yeah, things are going pretty well.
You've got a car and you've got an iPhone.
Exactly.
You're doing better than 99% of the world, pretty much.
Like this morning, I had my identity stolen and had to go through my PayPal and dispute with the bank, and they tried to buy an Alienware laptop, which idiots.
Just in general, if you're trying to buy an Alienware laptop.
Yeah, if you're getting an Alienware, hit me up. I'll talk you out of it. And then they got $900 worth of Microsoft Office software. And,
That's silly.
A couple months ago, that would have destroyed me. My day would be ruined. I would have told you, hey man, I can't do the podcast today. I'm just too stressed out. I got to deal with this shit. And my day started wrong. But my day didn't start wrong. That's not how I started my day.
Just an obstacle of your day.
I started my day with a hike. I saw that and I went, that's okay. I'm going to deal with this. I'm living in the now. I can't do anything to change the past. All I can do is make the future easier. And is stressing and getting angry about this going to make the future any better or easier? No. Okay. Then I'm not going to be stressed or angry. I'm going to solve it in the most efficient way possible. And I did. It's going to be solved in a couple of days. It's going to get back in my account. And I'm not going to worry about it because it's out of my hands now. And if something happens along the road, I'll address it when that happens.
Same thing happened to me this morning. Similar situation. So a couple weeks ago, actually about a week ago exactly, on Thursday night last week, I went out with my buddy Tyler, who was on the podcast, I think episode 4, Tyler Small. And on this night, I happened to drop my phone face down and completely ruin the screen. But the glass did not crack. The screen, the LED, like the actual pixels of the phone were messed up, and the screen was freaking out. And if you follow me on Snapchat, I talked about this.
It was bad. I saw it in person.
So the next morning, I go to the T-Mobile store, and they're like, "Wow, your phone's not cracked, and you have no water damage." So it's
you didn't tell them you dropped it either. You just told them that it started acting weird.
And that might have been part of my karma. I didn't tell the whole truth. I told them that I woke up. And it was just like this. And so they said, wow, since your phone is, not damaged, it's covered under warranty. And I was like, sweet. All I got to do is pay $20 and they're going to send me a replacement model completely free of charge. I was enthralled. I was so happy because this phone, I had it for about a year. It had been a little bit banged up. The screen was scratched and, the home button had like a couple scratches on it and stuff. And like, I was pretty pumped. I was about to get a brand new phone. And they said that, this weekend's Memorial Day, so it probably might take a couple days. Earliest you'll get it is by Tuesday. Tuesday passes, didn't get a notification. Wednesday passes, and I'm actually recording a podcast yesterday, and I got the notification during it, and I had my phone off, and by the time I was done with the podcast, the store was closed. So I'm like, oh, perfect. I'll just go in the store this morning, so Thursday morning. And last night, I had brought this broken phone with me, and I'd showed my friend Matthew that I recorded the podcast with, and, I was like, this piece of shit phone, I'm getting a new one tomorrow, and I kind of just threw it down. And apparently when I threw it down, I cracked the screen a little bit in the corner. Just the smallest bit. Literally the corner. And I've had this phone for about a year. Hadn't had any problems with it. Hadn't cracked the screen, anything like that. Hadn't had any.
And you dropped it, and it broke the screen, but it didn't crack the front until
and I'd actually dropped my phone a multitude of times. This wasn't an uncommon thing for me to kind of toss my phone around. It's a Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. It's got a very Gorilla Glass. It's a very durable screen. All this kind of stuff. And for whatever reason, my phone decided that it was going to crack the day that I needed it not to crack. So I woke up this morning. I'm like, shit, it's cracked. But they've already sent the phone in. I'm probably good. Showed up at the store and they said, now that it's cracked, Samsung's not going to accept this as a viable warranty. They're going to say that we assessed the problem wrong and it's not covered anymore. I can't give you this phone.
Now, did that ruin your day?
I was crushed at first. I was livid because I had an idea that was going to happen, but I thought I would be able to talk my way out of it and explain, like, this is your problem because you said that I was getting this warranty and now it's on you because the phone's here. And they're kind of like, no, that's not how this works. Like, you have no power here kind of thing. Like, we're kind of doing you a favor replacing this in the first place. So anyways, my best option ended up being that I was going to have to go through the insurance and just file a claim. And unfortunately, the deductible for that was $175, which for a brand new phone, $175 is amazing. To get a brand new Samsung phone that's over $900 typically, that's amazing.
That right there, what you just said, is different from most people.
Yeah.
Instead of someone going, it was supposed to be fucking free, but now I have to pay $175 goddamn dollars. You go, hey, $175 for a brand new phone after I made the mistake of cracking my case. That's not bad.
That's the thing, and
of course it's more unfortunate than what you were expecting, but it's a situation that happened. You're claiming responsibility for it. You cracked your phone.
And the thing is I wanted to yell at the employee, and I wanted to get mad, and I wanted to be upset. But the thing was, it was my fault. At the end of the day, I did the dumb thing, and I brought the broken phone with me, and I cracked the screen. And the only person I could be mad at was myself. The rules are the rules, and like I said, it was kind of a karma thing. When I went into the store, I didn't tell them that I dropped my phone and broke it. I told them that it just started acting up, and maybe that was part of my thing to learn my lesson a little bit. Is hey, don't be stupid. And $175 is $175. I'd rather not pay that, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not like my car broke and I have to buy a new car.
You're getting a supercomputer that you can call and text with for $175.
I'm getting a computer that I'm going to use for the next year and a half, maybe 2 years, that I can run my business with, I can run my social media with, that'll hopefully, I can promote this podcast and get it out to more people with. I can contact anyone on planet Earth with. I use it to schedule my podcast guests with.
But fuck, is $175?
Dude, that's a drop in the bucket, which is crazy to think about, And to be honest, when I first found out that I was going to be getting the phone for $20, it was kind of too good to be true because I didn't have insurance on it, and I was actually kind of shocked that I was only going to have to pay $20 to get a brand new phone. I was thrilled. I was over the moon. I was stoked because I was getting a brand new one for only $20. And the funny thing is the universe, or whatever you want to call it, has a funny way of putting you on, throwing you back on your ass and making you humble yourself.
That reminds me of it's a stand-up skit. I think it's Joe Rogan or Bill Burr. No, it's Louis C.K. And he talks about how Louis C.K. is on one of the very first flights, and he goes, over the intercom, they say, we'll actually be offering one of the first ever in-flight Wi-Fi services. And he's like, it's amazing. I'm on the flight, and I'm on Wi-Fi. And then, halfway through the flight, a couple hours in, it goes down. And Wi-Fi gets shut down. We're 30,000 feet in the air, Wi-Fi goes down. And some guy next to him goes, oh, this is fucking bullshit. It's like you were just told something great that was like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. $20, that's awesome. That's great. And then you get put back down like, oh, sorry, the Wi-Fi's down. Oh, sorry, it's going to be $175. And then that's what ruins. That's what goes, oh, this is fucking bullshit. Where if you went in there originally and they said, okay, yeah, no, it's going to be $175 and we'll get you all fixed up, you'd probably be like, okay, not bad.
Literally. And the crazy thing is that morning I was driving home with my friends and I said, I'm kind of in that mode to just go, fuck it. I'm going to just buy a new phone on the spot and get that new Galaxy S8 or something. Because I was like, I don't want to downgrade back to my old phone. I was fortunate enough to have a backup phone that worked. Yeah. And so I was like, I know I have a backup. I can use this for a little while. But if my phone is completely fucked and I knew I didn't have insurance and I knew that, I possibly would have had to pay full retail. Yeah. I had no idea what was going to happen. I was kind of in that mode where I was just about to be like, 50-50 chance. I might have just said fuck it and just bought the phone. Right. And like you said, is like in perspective, as soon as I had that good news and then it was snatched away in a slight way. That's the funny thing is, yes, $175 is a lot more than 20. But $175 is a lot less than $900 or whatever it would cost to buy a brand new Galaxy S7 Edge or whatever. Yeah. And, it's a year-old phone, whoop-de-doo. It's still a great phone. And I actually listened to...
This whole idea that you have to have the newest and latest and greatest of every tech. So the people are like, oh, I have the iPhone 7, but I'm getting the iPhone 8. Okay, if you truly appreciate technology and you're using it for the technological advancements, cool. Most people are using it for the societal advancements and, oh, wow, you have the iPhone 4, you have the iPhone 5. It's like, yeah, because I only need to text, call.
I can browse Instagram 0.5 seconds faster.
Yeah, it's like, dude, check out my new camera. It's like, it's absurd that people feel like they need to have the newest, latest, and greatest, and that's, once again, it all loops back around to people trying to push that they are in the higher ups. They're not like you. I'm better than you. I have this figured. I have the newest, latest, and greatest of everything.
What do you have?
How about instead of working towards having the newest, latest, and greatest of everything, you use that effort to make yourself better and more accepting of others and more grateful for others, and instead of judging others for them not being as good as you. That's, once again, going back to comparison. Comparison is fucking dangerous.
And skills and knowledge are something that no one can strip away from you. You can have your house burned down and lose all your possessions. you could go bankrupt and lose everything. You could have your PayPal information stolen like you and, have all your money taken.
It's linked to my credit card, and that's what that's where they went off.
And see, that's the thing is like, people put their identity in things and people and, political parties.
That's why so many people
teams.
don't even know who the fuck they are. They have all these baskets that they're filling, and they're filling so you have your you have your objects basket. So, okay, I need the nice car, the nice new phone, the brand new laptop. It fits in a manila folder. Cool. Okay, and I need the family, so I'm going to get married to this guy that I don't even like that much, but I need to get married soon and have kids.
So you have kids, and time's running out.
I need a job that pays me a lot of money, so people see me as a high. And then the basket of who you are never gets any attention. You don't worry about that. And then one day, if all that goes away, or if one little thing gets taken out, you start freaking out because your basket of to who you are has nothing in it. But once you start filling the basket of you more than anything else, you start working towards you. And I have all these great characteristics I'm working towards. And I think one of the biggest things is the pursuit of knowledge. That's a huge, the people who, including myself, before I started reading, before I started getting interested, I really like astrophysics right now. I'm really into that and studying about health and fitness. You think you know about things until you start studying it. So I thought that I was a smart person and that I knew, as much, if not maybe a little more than the typical human being, until I started studying, until I started opening the door of, striving to become more knowledgeable and reading and writing and doing all of that. And then I was just like, oh my God, there's so much I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's amazing and that's interesting. So I'm starting to fill that up. And where most people just go like, no, I got to figure it out. Like, this is what I believe, and I'm not going to look further into it. Or astrophysics.
Ask questions.
Yeah, the sun is a star. I know that. I know about astrophysics and the cosmos. And all.
That was a funny thing when I had my podcast. My friend Jamie, the South African guy?
Yeah.
I did a podcast with him a few days ago, and he's a personal trainer. And one of the things that, when he has new clients and he does their kind of assessment and all that, he asked them, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you kind of place your knowledge on weight training? Or, and he says he'll get these people that are completely out of shape that'll say a 10 or a 9.
Yeah.
And he said, and, he'll explain kind of, okay, well, why do you think that? Oh, well, I took PE in high school, so, I kind of know a lot.
Tell me where the pectoralis major is.
Yeah. And
they point to their ass, and you're like, perfect.
The funny thing was, what he tells them is he said, what's funny is, I've been training really seriously, and I'm a personal trainer. I'm certified, and I would consider myself about a 5 or maybe a 4.
Right.
And they're like, wow, well, when you kind of put it in perspective like that. And he said, the reason why I say that is because every single day I learn something completely new. And I know there's tons of people out there that know way, 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 way more than me.
Yeah.
So, I'm humbled by that. And so, I couldn't possibly put myself at a 10. And they say, well, when you kind of put it like that, I guess I'm probably like a 3 or a 2.
Right.
It's all about perspective.
Realize that you're dumb.
Yeah.
It's great to realize that there's so much more to learn. And
it's beautiful.
Become excited about that. Become excited the fact it's like, hey, I really don't know much about this, but I could. I could know more. And
I'm not good at this, but I could be the best, or I could be close to it.
Yeah, or I'm not good at this, and I don't have the desire to be. So don't pretend like you know about it. Don't be out of shape and critiquing someone on their form when they're doing a deadlift. Don't say, oh, that's terrible form, when you're not a person who even goes to
if you've never tried to lift 500 pounds, why are you critiquing the guy on Instagram lifting 500 pounds?
Exactly. Because it gives them a power edge and they get to hide behind
Most of the time, those people have private Instagram accounts.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, it's because they're totally insecure. They don't want anyone to be able to judge what they're doing. But these other people that have made their lives public, they're going to hate on them. Like, for example, it's hilarious. Okay, so I have this thing where I put up snap codes everywhere, like my Snapchat sticker.
Yeah, I've ever seen that.
I haven't talked about this on the podcast yet. So basically on Snapchat, like, you have this little QR code where you can take the Snapchat app, you open it up, you scan the camera on this code, and it'll add me as a friend.
You got stickers for that, right?
Yeah. So I've made these stickers that are literally the exact image of this code. So if you see this sticker out in the wild and you open up Snapchat,
I've never seen you post them in Europe on like street signs and like.
Yeah,
that
and it
kind of
was
shit.
sweet because I would meet so many cool people that I would never had contact with, that I would never had an opportunity to meet, that I've never had an opportunity to talk to, and I've actually literally like formed cool connections with a lot of people, and like people that are now listening to my podcast that found me through a Snapchat sticker.
Isn't that kind of how you got your big bump in people? Was,
a little bit.
Was through traveling, right?
Yeah, like through traveling and these Snapchat. What's up? I'm on Connor's Snapchat.
Sorry, taking a quickie.
It's all good. And so basically, the other day I had this guy who messaged me on Snapchat, and I posted a picture of my podcast subscribers, and it's going up.
I saw that. Good job, by the way. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
And I realized actually by doing a little bit of research, I thought that number was the actual amount of subscribers that I had. It's actually the amount of downloads that I have, but it's still really cool. But,
yeah.
So
is that not
actually,
equally as cool?
It's still amazingly cool.
I was about to say downloads is pretty.
It's amazing. And actually today I checked on the analytics again, and as of right now I have about 468 downloads of my podcast, which is amazing. Like, it's more than I could have especially hoped for in the past few days. Like, I literally officially launched it about 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And having 468 downloads in 4 days is like amazing.
Isn't seeing progress cool?
It's amazing. Seeing progress is
And
it literally makes me
anything you decide
grin
to
from
do.
ear to ear, dude.
And anything you decide to do, seeing progress is okay. Not killing people, but
yeah. Obviously, if it's a
Doing-
positive thing that helps other people,
yeah,
it's amazing.
Seeing progress is I think both of our addiction.
Yeah.
Is we have the addiction to progress.
Yeah.
In multiple different fields, and so you have this new podcast thing, and that's awesome. And so you start to see the next day you look and you're like, holy fuck, it's going up. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's worth living.
Yeah, totally.
Having the potential for progress.
Like, holy shit, like, people are actually interested in what my dumbass has to say.
Yeah.
Like, like, it's actually absurd to think about. And but anyways, to go back to my point, so this guy he added me on a Snapchat code that I put on the side of a trash can. And I can't remember his exact words, and it'll be hilarious if he's actually listening to this right now, because it'll be totally contradicting what he said. And I posted a picture of my analytics. And the way that the graph works is every day it updates. And so from the day before, it shows a higher number, and then from the current day, it shows a lower number.
Right.
Because all the analytics aren't in for the day. And he said, looks like your analytics are going down for the day. And I'm kind of like, yeah, but it's because the way that it works, like, the next day it'll actually show that it's gone up, and it has. Like, I've saying that was yesterday, I looked at it, and the number has gone up by about 100 downloads, which is crazy. And so this guy was kind of just like taunting me, and I was like, well, actually, there's an explanation for that. And he goes, he's like, well, I'm actually one of your subscribers. And I go, no way, that's awesome, dude. How do you like the podcast so far? And he goes, just kidding. I wouldn't actually subscribe to your shitty-ass podcast, you fucking piece of shit. I found your Snapchat code on the side of a dumpster. You honestly think I would listen to your shitty podcast? And I started cracking up, dude. Because this guy had, number one, took time out of his life to shit on me, which is funny.
Yeah.
But number two, he was the one that took out his phone to scan my code, thought it was cool enough that, wow, this guy...
Or he saw, here's a stranger that I can talk shit about to make myself feel better.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the funniest thing to me, because I'm like, how fucking shitty must your life be that you think it's so funny to write negative stuff? And that was one thing that I, when I started putting my stuff on Snapchat, saying, hey, review my podcast on iTunes. Someone wrote my podcast a 1-star review, and the comment was, not good content. or not very good content.
That's very opinion-based now, isn't it?
And people can have their own opinions, and that's, I have my opinions about other podcasts that I wouldn't want to listen to. And,
I have friends who have told me, you should listen to this podcast, and I listen to it, and I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah, and that's totally
fine,
fine,
But that's because
I'm not their audience, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And there's an audience for everyone.
That I believe.
Exactly. And so the funny thing was, at first I was like, that's, my immediate reaction was like, I'm going to report this comment as spam and get rid of this so my average goes up, because it brought my average down to a 4.5 star. And originally before I was a 5 star. And for whatever reason, I didn't end up reporting it. I did say, there's a thing on iTunes where it says, was this review helpful? And you can say yes or no. And I said no.
Yeah.
Because, it's my own podcast, and what do you expect me to do? But But it ended up that comment either got removed or the guy changed the status of the thing because it's not on my thing anymore.
Yeah.
And that was cool, but it was funny because this guy had the not audacity, but it was just hilarious to me that he would even take the time to
It
shit
gives
on
them
me.
a sense of purpose, not only a sense of purpose, but a sense of being better. And that's by comparison. That's by him saying, hey, I'm going to shit on your podcast because you're doing something. He's probably...
It's so much easier to hate on something than make something.
Exactly. And so, for example, and I can... I'm investing into this new... I'm really into the cryptocurrencies, and I'm having people tell me, that you're an idiot. You can't... But there's two sides to every belief and to every story. And for your podcast, people are either going to love it or hate it, and you're going to have all in between. But you can't expect those outliers to not exist. You're potentially going to have someone who's like, dude, I fucking love your podcast. It's amazing. And you're going to be like, great, awesome. And then if you're going to have that, you have to expect the opposite to exist. And you have to expect that they're going to be just as verbal as the person who says they love your podcast. They love what you're doing. And regardless of whether it's your podcast, your job, your investments, your athleticism, if people potentially appreciate it, you're going to have just as many people potentially hate it. Whether it's because they actually hate it, fine, go ahead, hate it. Or it's because they have something, their self-esteem issue, or they get off on trolling, on making people feel bad because it makes them feel important. Because once they get that acknowledgement, I was on Facebook today, and my friend posted a meme, and it wasn't even it was a map, and it was a Fox News map, and it highlighted Colorado and where all the weed was going, but they actually got the wrong state. Instead of highlighting Colorado, they highlighted a different state and said, this is where... So it was funny. 240 fucking comments, and these two guys are arguing back and forth. And it was just a big dick contest, and I'm going to show you it after this podcast. It's hysterical. All I put was, I just wanted to keep getting notifications on it, and I put the Ron Burgundy, well, that escalated quickly image. But these two guys are talking about how much money, one of them put his pay stub online to prove that he made more money than the other guy. And then another guy put, you like fat chicks, so how can I take anything from you? And he put a picture of the other guy from 3 years back on his Facebook of him with a fat chick. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And part of me is mad at myself that I even read all of that. That's bad.
Well, it's kind of like watching a train wreck. You kind of sometimes can't really look away. It's like you don't want to see someone get ran over by a train, or you don't want to see a car get crushed by...
But if you can't stop it...
It's just such a funny thing sometimes. You got to look at it and just, where's the popcorn kind of thing.
I remember that I have multiple other friends that are just like, I feel dumber reading all of this. I can't believe I just sat through and read all that.
I think it's a Benjamin Franklin quote which says, if you argue with an idiot from a distance, you can't tell who is who, or something like that.
Yeah. It's just funny because now, I look at it and I see here are two guys who are constantly trying to prove to themselves that they matter to someone. Whether they're trying, why, if they disagree that much, why didn't they say, hey, let's take this to Messenger and discuss
and just
this?
DM this, yeah.
Why are we making this public to the world? Of course they're making it public to the world. They want everyone to see because they want to see. They want
everyone to think that they're right.
Right. Acceptance. They want to see that I'm the right one here. I'm the alpha. That's the big thing with males is, I'm the alpha. I have no problem saying that I'm a bitch sometimes.
Me too, dude. I say I'm a bitch all the time, man.
Yeah, and
when you were talking about throwing up and passing out during your workouts, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, damn, I'm a bitch.
Yeah, and I'm sure when somebody listened to this and heard about my breakup and I was fucking sitting, I remember against my fridge right there, one day I just fucking broke down and be like, suck it up, pussy. No. I'm not going to try to pretend to be someone that I'm not. And you can think I'm a bitch because of it, but I'm just going to be me. And not try to be anybody else so I can prove my alpha-ness to the pack of men or whatever. Because I think that most men can agree with this. The guys who really try to push it are the ones that you can really see trying to push it, and you think the exact opposite of.
Yeah.
Like those two guys arguing, look how much money I make. Oh, you like fat chicks? How can I take advice from you? Oh, yeah, well, you still have your V card. I haven't seen any photos of you with a girl. That was the rebuttal for that one. And I'm not thinking, oh, man, who's manlier out of these two guys? I'm thinking, oh, fuck, these two guys. Poor guys. Like, that's, I pity. And that's one of those cases where, you know, it's hard for me to be empathetic, and I try to be empathetic towards it because I'm sure there are multiple times where I've been in a big dick contest and I've tried to prove myself as the alpha. But damn, they're like in their mid-20s and they're still worried on Facebook about who's the bigger man. When in reality, everyone's just reading that going, you poor guys, like this is insane.
Yeah, I feel like when you see, you know, for me, the stereotype of that kind of dude is like the dude who's got like the lifted truck. He's got like a pit bull. He's wearing like a tap out shirt and he's got his hat backwards. And he's got a whole bunch of like tribal tattoos. And he's just trying to prove to the world how fucking manly he is, how tough he is. I've got the biggest truck. I've got the manliest. Even my dog is tough, bro. My dog will fuck your dog up, bro. Like, you're not proving yourself. Who are you proving yourself to, and who do you have yourself to prove to?
I do think there are those guys that exist, though. Like, if you like jacked up trucks, cool. That's awesome. If you like pit bulls, awesome. But if you try to push onto other people that you're more manly than them and you're using those as props for that, then that's bad. If you're using it because you truly enjoy those and you don't push it upon other people. If you drive a jacked up truck and you see my lowered S2000 and you don't think, wow, pussy, what a small little car, then great. If you don't think that, then awesome. But if you do think that because you're comparing an object to your being, this goes back into the items or who you are. If you got a jacked up truck and you put that in the you bucket because that's really who you are, that's what you like, great, that's awesome. If you put it in the item bucket so that other people see that and think that you're something, that's when it's bad. And because there's plenty of things that, you know, that come off as macho, which is just truly because guy likes being a guy, dude, like a man likes being manly. That's great, but if you're doing it to prove yourself, then that's bad.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing that I wanted to bring up earlier when we were talking about like perspectives and stuff, like, you know, when I was talking about my phone and all that.
Yeah.
One thing that was interesting, I listened to a podcast with Dan Bilzerian. So for people who don't know,
I have mixed feelings on Dan Bilzerian.
Me too. I definitely don't support his lifestyle.
I'm sure there's a little bit of jealousy there for me. For sure. For sure, there's a little bit of jealousy, and I'll admit that.
He kind of fits that stereotype of, you know, he's living the craziest life. He's got the giant jacked up cars.
Based off his highlight reel.
Based off his highlight reel, that's true. Based on his Instagram, you know, he's hanging out with the hottest chicks.
Yeah.
He's hanging, but
true.
Also the fakest chicks as well. They've all got fake tits. They've all got gross, you know, plastic surgeries and fake butts, and you know, he's probably funded a lot of that stuff. But the interesting thing on this podcast that was very interesting was that he said, like, I don't want to have, you know, I'm not trying to have sex with girls that don't actually want to have sex with me. Like, he's not like buying prostitutes. He's like, a lot of these girls want to have sex with me because I'm such high status and because I've set myself up as this. And another thing that he talked about.
How many of them do you think want to have sex with him because of who he is?
Probably none. But
or very few. I'd say very few.
But his but like actually when he was on this podcast, his personality kind of came through. Yes, he's a very shallow dude in some aspects, but he's actually a lot more thoughtful than I thought he would be.
Well, he's playing a role. He knows his role. He knows how he got where he is, and he knows how to continue that going forward.
That's very true.
You know, I'm trying to, you know, like, I'm gonna be who I am no matter what, and that includes my Snapchat, Instagram, or whatever. And let's say tomorrow I woke up and had 1.5 million followers, but they said, hey, you have to act like Dan Bilzerian. I wouldn't do it. But, you know, I'm sure he's playing a persona that is a part of him, but probably not all of him, but it's a winning formula that works.
It's a character.
Yeah.
It's definitely a character.
Yeah.
And he's definitely evolved into that. But the main reason why I wanted to bring this up was because he actually kind of talked about this whole perspective thing where he was saying, you know, I'm so rich that I'm able to stay in the most luxurious hotels. I'm able to get the hottest girls. I'm able to get the most expensive stuff. I have the most expensive watches. I have the most guns. I live in the ideal house. And so it's like, all these things, let's say for me, for example, remember earlier when I said, I have to pay $20 for this new phone, and then all of a sudden I had to pay $175. If you would have initially told me I had to pay $175, it wouldn't have been a big deal. I would have been like, sweet, I get a new phone for only $175.
Right.
For him, it's like, if you put him in some sort of a quote-unquote luxury hotel, it's not a penthouse. So he looks at it as like, this is terrible. Yeah. This is such a downgrade. And like, you give him, a cool boat, but it's not a yacht. He's like, dude, this is the shittiest, smallest boat ever. And so, you have to really just think about the perspective that you're at, and you have to think about, appreciating where you are and the things you have and all that kind of stuff, because
we have evolved to always see how could this be better, or wow, I wish this was better and this is how it could be.
Yeah, and there's nothing worse than downgrading. Once you've tasted, like for example, when you were 16, if your dad gave you a Ferrari and now you had to drive the Honda S2000, it would suck.
Yeah.
But the fact that, your first car was whatever you drove, then you drove
1998 Saturn SC1.
Wow, a Saturn.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I know.
So you drove a Saturn.
I thought they burnt all of those back in the early 2000s.
And then you drove a Lexus? Or did you have a car in between?
Saturn SC1 to Honda Civic to Lexus IS300 to S2000.
There we go. So you've had a slow progression. Yeah. And then after the S2000, you're probably going to get something, that'll even satisfy another.
CCXR.
Yeah, just a Koenigsegg CCXR. You'll find a street legal
slow
one
upgrade.
That's, but
no, it's constant progression, yeah. But you also have to, if there are going to be times to where, like I said, you're going to fail. There are going to be times where it's not a constant progression. It's going to go down sometimes. If someone stole my identity and let's say nothing good could happen, and they cleaned out my accounts and I had to sell my car and I had to get a shitty Honda Civic or something like that. Now with my new mindset, I would be appreciative that I could still have a car. Of course, I'd wish I still had my S2000, but I wouldn't go, it wouldn't ruin my life as it would with some other people.
Definitely. They put their identity in their cars.
Don't put yourself in the situation to downgrade, but even if you're doing consistently positive habits, you're working towards your overall goal, bad things can still happen. And there's still lessons to be learned from those. And you should expect them to happen. That's without a doubt.
And everything's temporary.
Yeah.
Literally everything.
Yeah. No, I love that. It's all time. Here's another quote that I really love. The universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. And that's from Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's in his book, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. Highly recommend it. But yeah, the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. But I personally believe that things happen for a reason. I don't think they happen for a reason based off a playbook that an omnipotent God or being has put into effect. I think that everything happens for a reason because we can learn from any and every situation possible. Now, it's
good or bad.
Exactly, especially bad. I've learned, these big life shifts that I've had, and most of my characteristics that I appreciate about myself, I can find somewhere that in my past that triggered that, and it's typically a bad situation that I learned from, that I used that knowledge that I learned from it, and I used it to change myself or my habits or something that I was doing. And it's now something positive that I see. And so once you learn, or once you acknowledge that, okay, this is negative, I'm potentially going to learn something from this. And if I don't, I can't change it. It's already happened. So I can either try to make my future better, or I can sit here in my own self-pity party and only think about, oh, it'd be so much better if this, or what if I did this? Yeah, what if? Well, okay. Play that scenario in your head. Yeah, things could have been great. Well, guess what? They're fucking not. They're not. You can think what if all day, but it's not constructive. I try to have constructive thoughts. And if you're thinking what if I did this?
How can you make the best, how can you make the most out of the situation that you're in the present moment?
Live in the now.
There's nothing that you can do that, for example, for me, there's nothing that I could do to uncrack my phone.
Right.
There wasn't anything I could do. It was cracked. It was done.
It exists. deal with it now.
And I had to just say, okay, I've just got to suck it up, Buttercup, and just pay the $175, and that was it.
Yeah, and so living in the now is super important. Then people go, well, shouldn't I plan for my future? Well, yes, of course you should plan for your future, but you should make sure that those thoughts you're having about your future are actually constructive and actionable. If you start thinking about your future, and people often think about their future, but they do it in so much detail that it's never going to exist that way. If you think in a broad term, okay, I want to have multiple streams of income, and then maybe I want to start a business doing this. How can I start to put things in action to start to work towards that? I'm going to write those down. I'm going to start working towards them. Those are great thoughts to have. Once you start thinking into the future in a detailed, like I want to live in this certain area, this beach house, and I want to have this exact job, and I want to be making this much per year, and you start playing out these roles in your head. Or even if you think in the future of so-and-so, or my significant other isn't home yet, they're going to get home and we're going to have this argument, and I'm going to say this, and then they're going to say this. And you'll sit there
That's a good
and you
one.
play that role in your head. It's like The Shower, where I saw a meme the other day where it's like where most imaginary arguments take place, where you're in your head, you're having an argument with someone about something that you disagree with.
And you're letting someone else rent space in your brain.
And that argument never happens how you think. Well, I would say this, so they would say this. Well, you know what? Go have that argument. Go say that. And I guarantee you, they're not going to say exactly what you thought. And if they do you think you're going to be in the mindset to say exactly what you thought in the shower 4 days ago before you... No. It's absurd to... Once you start to just decide to be your being and be who you are, if that argument comes up, I trust myself organically to treat the situation properly instead of thinking about future events. What am I going to do in that situation? How should I do it? What should I say? Oh, I'm going to act this way. I'm going to cross and puff my chest out and be all pissed off. And no, I'm going to say, okay, if that happens, I trust myself that in the present moment I'll deal with it accordingly.
Yeah.
So
that's beautiful, man. That's awesome. Seriously, because I mean, most people wouldn't look at situations like that. You know, plan out important events in your life, have actionable plans. But as for who you are, argument, those things are going to come up and go. Don't try to plan for those. Just if your thoughts aren't constructive, let them go and trust yourself naturally. Yeah, man. Well, dude, I think that's a good place to kind of wrap it up.
I think that's
We've been going for a little while. We've been going for like 2.5 hours.
No fucking way. I remember when you told me the other day, like, yeah, some of them go for like 2.5 hours, and I was like, whoa, he's going to be sorely disappointed with mine. But hey, I guess
dude,
not.
seriously, we've gone like over 2.5 hours. But
I could, man,
dude,
there's so many more.
I mean, like literally, I was just thinking off the top of my head. Next time we have a podcast, we can talk about cryptocurrency. We can talk about investing. We can talk about more fitness
on
stuff.
Athletics and.
We can talk. Yeah, dude, we could. I think we could go for weeks. So. Needless to say, we'll definitely be having more podcasts, and I would love to be a guest on your podcast whenever you get it launched.
Definitely.
So if people want to find you, I know you're trying to get your Instagram game up.
That'd be nice. I would like that.
Where can people follow you on Instagram?
That's Conor J. Peterson. It's CONNER, J as in John, and Peterson, PETERSON, and that is my Instagram, and I think that's my Snapchat as well.
Yeah, I think so. And I'll make sure to put all of his links and everything in the description. And also, we didn't even mention the whole Shower Toga thing, but I'm definitely going to be promoting that.
Please, if you're an active person, that's my mom's invention, and it's actually really cool, with these OCR races, and I do rock climbing outdoors, or if I hike and camp a lot. It's a way that you can shower outdoors. I'll go rock climbing, get super sweaty. My parents ask me to go out to dinner, or my friends do, and as long as you have a change of clothes and a water bottle, I can shower in the parking lot with the shower toga and then change. Never get naked in public. I do it in the parking lot all the time. And I can go to a nice restaurant showered up and clean without ever having to go home. So check it out. It's called Shower Toga.
I'll definitely put the link to the Kickstarter in the podcast description and all that stuff. But yeah, man, I'll put all the links and everything. And dude, we definitely need to have another podcast. Do you have a name for your podcast with Alex yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
We've messed around with some ideas, but
I'm sure Alex is going to come up with something very punny.
He definitely is. We had a joke one. It was called Stuffing Things with Alex and Connor. Supposed to be stuff and things.
Stuffing things
with Alex and Connor. Two guys just stuffing things. So we're probably not going to go with that. I think that one was said under the influence of some
That's
substances. But yeah, no, we're he's out of town right now, and he's coming back, and we're gonna.
He just was in Chicago, right?
Yeah, and we're actually having to hide his identity via the podcast scene because of what's going on right now. So yeah, right. We'll talk about that later, and maybe it can be released, maybe not. We'll see.
I was gonna say I don't know, but anyways, I don't think I've said his last name during this podcast.
No, we haven't.
So, but I definitely want to have Alex on the podcast soon, and yourself. Yeah. I definitely want to have some repeat episodes.
Dude, I'm looking forward to it. This was awesome. 2.5 hours fucking flew by, and like you said, I could go on for days. And
yeah,
I was worried about how long I'd be able to speak for, but you made it very, very easy to flow with. So good job as the host for sure.
Dude, I really appreciate that.
Of course,
I mean,
man.
I'm trying to get better every day. So
yeah, I mean, got to start somewhere. Like we said, the thing is to start. You want to start a podcast, and you're fucking doing it, man. So good job.
Exactly, man.
Good work.
Conor, thanks for being on the podcast, bro. And
hell yeah,
we'll talk to you
much
next
appreciated.
time,
Looking forward to the next one.
Awesome. Bye, guys. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. I want to thank Conor for being on the show. Can't wait to have him on soon. I will make sure to share his podcast whenever it launches. So you should definitely follow me on social media to see when that drops. You can also follow Conor on Instagram. It's Conner J. Peterson, and that's Conner J. Peterson, Peterson. I think I'm getting that right. It'll definitely be in the show notes if it's not. Also, make sure you go buy a shower toga. Go support it on Kickstarter. Only $19. Shower in public. Conor and his family will greatly appreciate it. Again, the last day to pledge is June 17th. So go now. No time to waste. Get yourself a shower toga. If you want to follow me, best way to find me is to go to my website, andrewdeitsch.com. That's andrewdeitsch.com. And you can find links to all my social media handles and stuff and keep up with all this going on. As always, if you want to support the podcast, best way to do that is to go to the podcast app if you have an iPhone, or the iTunes store, find the Andrew Deitsch podcast. Leave it a 5-star review and give me some feedback in there. Also, by downloading all the episodes and subscribing, that really helps, and it helps to get me in that new and noteworthy section that I'm trying really hard to get into. So even if you're not going to listen to all the episodes, I would really appreciate the downloads anyways. Episode 14 is up next with my friend Remy Murhi. Remy is such an awesome person. She's super motivated, entrepreneurial. She loves traveling the world, and she's super passionate about what she does. And in this episode, we talked about her upbringing and being the child of immigrant parents who actually had an arranged marriage, starting her first company, meditation, happiness, relationships, diet, fitness, and we talked a ton about habits and how to get rid of bad habits by replacing them with good and healthy habits. That episode will be posted very soon, so keep it locked. Love you guys. Keep sharing, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. Bye-bye.